All right. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is Dr. David Patrick Harry with Church of the Eternal Logos. And today is a Logos news stream. We got a multitude of topics to dive into today, some of which you guys have probably already been following a bit. One that I really want to focus with you guys today is everything going on with these flock cameras. So the Panopticon is here. The mass surveillance system is here. I'm going to be showing you videos of people even be allegedly attempted to be charged with crimes due to these flock cameras when in fact they are completely innocent, and how the police, the government, we've talked about Palantir, we've talked about Peter Thiel, Elon Musk, the technocracy that's being built around us. And these flock cameras are just the latest instance. And if you guys remember, probably two or three Logos news streams ago, I even showed you a video of a man trying to find the headquarters of these flock cameras. And lo and behold, they are very protective and very much in favor of their own secrecy and privacy, but not for you. So we're going to be diving into that in regards to geopolitical news. And this may actually lead into another morning stream tomorrow. The NATO Summit is taking place in Turkey right now. And of course, there is growing tension between the U.S. and Israel, not only due to the Iran war and the MOU, but Trump is apparently in discussion with Erdogan about selling him some F-35 fighter jets, of which Netanyahu is very upset about. And so I was thinking maybe tomorrow morning we'll go into some of the Orthodox prophecies regarding the death and the assassination of Erdogan, because Israel is vowing to fight Turkey if the U.S. begins to arm them. We'll get a little bit to that because the Russian-Ukraine war is heating up. In fact, part of this NATO summit, what's really going on is the European powers essentially declaring war against Russia. Meanwhile, Russia is at one of their strongest points, despite Ukraine and their drone attacks continuously hitting targets inside Russia itself. So we'll be hitting that. Of course, we'll be talking a little bit about Sneako's recent crash out, and it all is tied with him declaring the United States as a Muslim nation. Byzantine Soldier says that happened to me with car parking tickets. Yeah, we'll get into the flock. It's actually pretty damn scary. They say they're just there to read license plates. However, there's leading suspicion that inside these AI-driven camera systems, they actually have facial recognition. And I have a video of a man walking on a sidewalk showing that the flock camera, when there was no cars around to track, was actually tracking him while walking. And there's a handful of videos on YouTube you can look into regarding investigations and all the flock cameras and people speculating that there is facial recognition and that they're not just tracking your car. And once they have your license plate, they can find all types of information about you. I have a video of a guy even showing, and we'll be watching it, how these flock cameras are hooked up to the internet, and anybody with the correct knowledge can actually access them and watch live feeds through these flock cameras. So we're talking about cameras at play sets where children are playing, people passing by. If somebody wants to track you, they can tap into these systems themselves and begin doing that. Also, we'll be looking at a little bit of the Charlie Kirk trial. So some of you guys may know yesterday was the first day of the preliminary hearings, and not much came from it. I think one of the only interesting things is the female defender, who was really underwhelming and unimpressive, defending Tyler Robinson, claimed that there was shell casings at different parts, located not near where we're told he took the shot with the 30-06, hitting Charlie Kirk in the neck. And there's a lot of speculation, especially regarding Candace Owens' recent interview with Sean Ryan. I don't know if you guys checked that out. That thing has like over 4 million views now. So Candace Owens being probably the leading spokesperson, arguing that Tyler Robinson is potentially innocent or just a patsy. And I'll share some of my personal opinions. I know it's been a hot topic in the orthosphere, and my friend Andrew Wilson and Rachel Wilson have been taking some heat regarding this particular topic, and we'll touch into that as well. So tons to get into, guys. Smash that like. If you appreciate this stream, we now, as you can see, we finally have the virtual webcam from Streamlabs working. So if you super chat on Streamlabs, it will pop up on screen, and any super chat through YouTube, obviously, I can present on stream here through StreamYard. It's been a while since we've been able to have the music videos, you know, all the beautiful Orthodox churches, because there was a problem with the software between Mac OS and Streamlabs. So I haven't been able to use that for probably, let's see, year and a half. And finally, this Monday night, I spent hours, and now it works. So if you guys are able to support through Streamlabs, all of that will be presented up on the screen. But without further ado, we got so much to get into today. Let's just go ahead and start. And I don't know if you guys saw this, but we're going to begin here. Remember that rabbi that I showed you guys? This may have been last Logos news stream, Rabbi Mizrachi, who talked about how the Jews control the world and that they control the monetary system. And who else would you want to control the world other than Rabbi Mizrachi and his people? Well, there's a recent interview with, I don't even know who the Muslim YouTuber is. He Muslim or Jewish? Maybe he's Jewish. He's kind of a troll, but he had Gavin McGinnis, and he ended up having a Hebrew Israelite on, this guy right here, who I know some of in the orthosphere, I think Andrew debated him, just a total nitwit, but interesting and funny back and forth. But this Rabbi Mizrachi, who is a Jewish supremacist, says Christianity is essentially a made-up religion. And you can hear a little bit of a back and forth between him and Gavin McGinnis. So check this out.
Difference between Jews and Gentiles. When they are criminals, they are subject to the punishments of the Torah. Now, if a Jew is a murderer, or if a Gentile is a murderer, it's a death penalty to both. If both of them are idol worshippers, is a death penalty to both.
And do they go to hell?
You understand? Yes, the Jew will go to his hell,
Hope it's not
and
that
the
boiling
Gentile will
shit
go
hell.
to his hell.
Yeah.
But you
I'm
understand?
fucked.
So
I
the
prefer
fact that
boiling
you're
fire.
trying to describe that
What
we
about
are
boiling semen?
the fact
No,
that
thank you.
the fact that you're thinking that I'm trying to put the Gentiles down or this, first of all, the word goy in the Torah means a nation. It's not a bad
It means
word.
non-Jewish.
It's mean non-Jewish. Yeah, the nations that are not Jewish.
I'm
That's
not criticizing Christians. I just want you to know your religion is made up and you're going to hell for worshiping a false idol.
No, wait. Disagreeing with something that you made up, which is not the book of God, doesn't mean I put you down or I have anything.
No, you're
personal against you.
misinterpreting what God said. God said, worship me.
We
I do.
We have the original book. You came 1,300
You know what?
years
I'm starting to
after
regret
our
choosing you as the storyteller. Can we get different chosen ones, please?
book.
What about Chinese? I feel like they keep a cleaner record.
Very good record.
In the New Testament, it
Chinese people, I know you're blasphemers, but would you be willing to take on the task of chosen ones?
Yeah, in the New Testament, it says that the cave of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob is in the city of Nablus, Shechem. But every fool knows it's in Hebron.
You took the words right out of my mouth.
Tell me, how does God know? How does God will make a mistake not knowing where Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob are buried? In the New Testament, it says that it's in a different place. If this is the book of God, something that you and I know, God doesn't know. You understand?
Yeah, it was renamed. It's like Constantinople.
It takes me 2 minutes.
It moved on after the
to
Crusades.
prove to every reasonable non-Jew that Christianity is a man-made religion. So 2 minutes it takes me, and also Islam, also the Quran. It takes me 2 minutes to prove to you that it can never be the word of God. If you are an honest person, sit with me one-on-one, and I would leave you with zero doubts about it.
I still call it the original name. Same with the Cuomo Bridge. It will always be the Tappan Zee Bridge to me. I'm not calling it Cuomo. I don't care what the New Testament says.
What about that lake that Trump changed? What is it? The something America?
The Gulf of America.
Yeah.
I will do that. But in
Yeah.
Montreal, it'll always be Dorchester. It'll never
That
be
seems
Rennie
a little
Levesque Boulevard.
hypocritical.
The
No.
New Testament is filled with mistakes and it therefore can't be from God.
You should watch my film Torah and Science.
I got a whole homework assignment after this.
And over
He has
there,
a movie,
in
too.
part
Oy vey.
1 of the film, I proved that Christianity and Islam, it's false religion.
Wow.
If you will search for the
It sounds
truth,
like a wonderful
follow
film.
Do you realize how offensive that is?
I'm
Like,
sorry.
we come in here,
I'm
we're not allowed to
sorry.
say fuck
I'm
or
sorry,
shit
I'm
or
sorry.
do jokes.
I'm sorry.
But you could say my entire
We're
religion. Like,
searching for the truth.
I'm
and
starting
respect.
to feel, as a free
I'm-
speech guy, I'm
I'm
starting to
not, Gavin,
think
I'm
that
not
blasphemy laws are required here.
disrespecting you, but
This
you
is-
cannot force me to believe something that you made up.
Don't say that about Islam and Saudi
300
Arabia. Get back
years.
to me.
You expect me to accept a religion?
I
that you
originally
made-
wanted him to debate a Muslim, but they were not willing.
We have an extra guy. It's better.
I don't understand. This is a religious debate. We're talking
Yeah.
about rabbi.
We have God and his son. You just have God. We have more stuff.
If you
We're
have
better.
part 2 that contradicts completely part 1,
It does
it
not
cannot be
contradict
from God.
completely.
It cannot be.
It is
the
a
word-
more accurate depiction of what God meant.
So Gavin McGinnis probably isn't the best Christian apologist to be on here, but if you guys remember, what was it, a couple years ago when McGinnis was doing a debate, I believe against Nick Fuentes and some others, and he was partnered with a Jew. I don't even know exactly his name. He's kind of a online apologist for Judaism, but he was blown away once he found out what he actually believed about Christianity. And I guess McGinnis wasn't totally familiar with what the Talmud says about Christ and the Theotokos. So he's certainly been ingratiated and exposed to what Jews actually believe about Christianity. And in regards to the blasphemy laws, I think that's going to be something that most Christians are eventually going to be in favor for, because when we get to the Sneako stuff, which is going to be coming next after these couple videos, he's declaring the U.S. as some type of Muslim empire, or what it's eventually going to be, at least his stated goal. And I even have a video showing that there are hidden Muslim refugee camps in the United States that nobody even knows about, and that people like Governor Abbott are in fact not only taking money from billionaire Muslim donors, but low key actually okay with these Muslim only cities that luckily the state Congress in Texas has shot down. But we're going to eventually need some blasphemy laws. I think that's great. I think that's one of the misnomers about America is because we're so pro free speech. And, you know, pro free speech is great when we were 90% homogenous. And even though it was mostly Protestant and Catholic, we didn't have the same cultural tensions. We didn't have the same irritants that we have with all these new immigrants and really the state of modern progressive America. So this conversation goes forward, and then they bring in a black Hebrew Israelite, and they start arguing over the curse of Ham, which is really funny. Check this out.
Go around wearing stuff like that if you're not a real Jew.
Buy me one. I'll maybe wear it. After the Romans destroyed the second temple, they sold Jews to Egypt with boats, and the Torah said that the price of a slave was less than the meal of a horse, meaning $5 today. There was no buyers because there were so many slaves.
No, when it says no man shall buy you, that's talking about redeeming you, meaning you wouldn't get out of that.
No,
torment.
they sold them.
Because the word Egypt,
when you take
it's not talking about the literal Egypt, because Egypt just means bondage. That's what makes
not
the
necessarily.
original name of those people is what? Matazarium or Mitzrayim,
No,
right?
but Mitzrayim,
Was that the original?
Mitzrayim means
Mitzrayim?
Egypt. Mitzrayim means Egypt.
And means bondage.
Funny how we were
Right.
all slaves, blacks, Jews, and Irish, and I was the one who freed everyone.
By the way, in the Torah,
You're welcome.
a Torah.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
In the Torah, it says already.
What has two
thumbs
thumbs
and
and
free
free slaves?
900 years before the Torah was given,
You're welcome.
Noah,
you.
Noah cursed his son, Ham, the third son, which was wicked. And he had his fourth son, which was the grandson of Noah. He cursed Canaan, and he cursed him that his children will be slaves.
Not that he said no.
And
not
Ham means
It
Africa.
says it'll be
Ham means hut. Places.
Ham is Africa.
Ham.
But
Ham is
Canaan
Africa.
is only one son. And this is the white
Right,
supremacy. This is why we say y'all the same people.
Right.
Because he's talking this is a white supremacist talking point.
No.
Shouldn't that be
What I
another
mean, hear what I
point?
mean.
Everything is white supremacy for the black Hebrew Israelites. It never gets old.
Just hear what I'm saying.
I
When
want to make
say-
something clear. I have nothing against black people. I don't want you to
That statement right there is a white
misunderstanding.
supremacist talking point,
No.
because when they enslaved black people, they used the curse of Ham. When it was
Curse
not
is
the
on
curse
you.
of Ham,
But it's
it
written
was
in the
cursed.
Torah.
It wasn't Ham. It
But-
was
But
Canaan.
the black
It was-
people came
listen to
out
what
of
I'm saying.
Ham. That's it. It
No,
didn't come out of
that's not-
Yefet, and
that's
they
not
didn't
true.
come out of Sem.
That's not true.
Sem
We
is
come from
the father
Israelites.
of the Jews.
Come from Shem. We come from Shem.
From
We don't come
Shem.
from Ham.
Yeah.
We don't come from Ham.
All right. But again,
Listen, the Arabs
You
come.
come- you
When y'all
come-
take that Shemitic
you-
term,
you know
y'all
what?
are bastards for stealing it.
you know
Because the Arabs are Shemitic, the
Yeah.
Chinese and Japanese are Shemitic,
Oh.
and we are Shemitic.
I think it's Semitic, not Shemitic. This guy's a total idiot.
you know what?
But y'all take ownership of that.
Yeah. Let me ask you
Like
a
what
question.
type of
When someone hates Arab,
yeah.
did they call him
what type of
anti-Semite? When someone
what-
hates an Arab, did you ever hear
That's
someone
one of my
naming
favorite
them
jokes.
anti-Semite?
I always say,
When someone
I'm an anti-Semite. I hate Arabs.
When someone hates the
That's
black
because y'all
people,
stole it.
do you hear anyone who say anti-Semite?
That's because y'all stole it.
Only when they hate the Jews.
Y'all stole it
they
in the
are called-
1800s. Y'all coined the phrase and stole it as the Ashkenazis, which is weird when the Ashkenazi
Ashkenazi
says
was
that
Sephardi, but okay.
when I said when the Ashkenazis stole it, which is weird because Ashkenaz technically is Japhet, but then they say they Jews.
Not the
Bro, you
Jews.
don't-
The Jews were
Yeah.
scattered
Bro.
around all
No,
the
you're not
nations.
getting this too. No.
The Jews.
You can't
They're
dress. I
not
know you want to
called
be like me. This
Ashkenazi.
how y'all impersonate. I'll let you get
The
some
Jews
women
I'm
and
trying to
shit.
become one of those black Jews, man.
You know, the
I
one
like that
one
one,
of the
Yeah.
punishments of the
Yeah.
Jews by
Uh-huh.
God
Uh-huh.
is I will scatter you
I
among
agree.
the
That's
nations.
us.
Among the nations.
us.
So that's why you have
So I'm gonna
Ashkenazi
ask you a
Jews.
question.
Ashkenaz means
Where's the
Europe.
tribe of Reuben?
Europe.
Where's the tribe of Reuben?
Nobody knows.
Where's Levi?
Nobody.
Where's
Levi we
Simeon?
know.
Where's
Levi we
Simeon?
know. We have
Where's
Levi.
Simeon? Where's Gad? Where's Naphtali?
And lost
Where's
tribes.
Issachar?
We only know today who is Cohen or Levi, who comes from
How
the
do you
tribe
know
of
that?
Levi.
How do you know that?
Because it's father to son. They have the last name.
No,
Levi,
no,
Levi,
no.
Levi,
That's just
Levi.
some shit you made up, though.
What?
You just said it. That's why y'all banned DNA testing, I think.
I love that the Black Hebrew Israelites talking to the the Jewish supremacists about how he made up his religion, when Black Hebrew Israelite is one of the dumbest, the absolute dumbest religious orientations.
Which I don't agree with it.
DNA
But the
doesn't
reason
prove
why
anything.
y'all banned
DNA
DNA testing
doesn't prove if you're
because
Jewish
y'all
or
wouldn't
not.
have no connection to the Levant
In
region.
the meantime,
And
the
you
one
know it.
that still
Yes, it
identity
is.
is you, not us.
It says we cover that.
We
No, no.
And
Of course,
there's
because
DNA tests for all Kohanim that they did
No,
back
no,
to somebody
no,
3,200 years
No,
ago.
you're not testing it
Yeah,
against
they've
real
done the
live
Cohen
data.
gene and
No,
all Kohanim
you're
have
not
this
testing
gene.
it against.
But again, I don't.
Let's move on.
And here's the truth: if you took the Black Hebrew Israelites' DNA, it'd probably show he's from Nigeria, because that's where the majority of African slaves were taken from, sold by Nigerian kings, by the way. And I do agree that if you took the DNA test of many Ashkenazis, I think it would show a lot of Turkish, Slavic DNA because of them being Khazars. You know, I do hold weight regarding the Khazarian theory of the 13th tribe put out by Arthur Kessler. And so the irony from my perspective is that my church is Israel. The Orthodox Church is emphatic that we are the continuation of the covenantal promise between God of both the Old Testament, first with Moses, and then the New Testament, the second one with Christ. And so I'm over here not claiming any Jewish DNA, and yet claiming spiritually we are the continuation of that covenant. And then you watch the Jew and the Black Hebrew Israelite argue with each other. It's hilarious. So I thought we'd get it started a little bit with some fun. I thought that was hilarious. So major thank you to Seraphim Rosario for $5 super chat, no comment. Thank you very much, brother, for pushing us towards today's goal. And Shoreline says Shemitic and shit. That is a very accurate quote and description of the Black Hebrew Israelite. So next little item that I have for you guys, and we've covered this gentleman before, Brian Johnson, you know, the multimillionaire who sold his tech company and is trying to not die. His goal is to live as absolutely long as he possibly can. Well, did you guys see his recent announcement that he's actually dying of a disease? And we talked about this, that you can't beat God, right? You can't use technology and all this gene editing and all the different peptides and hormone replacements that he's doing and live for as long as you wish. You know, he injects his son's blood into his body to rejuvenate tissue. And we've talked about this because Peter Thiel actually founded the company Parambrosia, which is now defunct because of public outcry. But you could go to one of their clinics and you could purchase blood from a donor between the ages of 16 and 25, I believe, and then inject it. And most of the recipients were like 50 years plus. And it does actually rejuvenate tissue. So I did a stream on talking about modern day vampires and diving into this whole science of blood transfusions from young people, rejuvenating tissue in older people. Well, he does all that. And he just announced that he has autoimmune gastritis. So the biohacker who spends $2 million a year trying to never die just revealed a diagnosis none of his testing was built to catch. And his disease, autoimmune gastritis, has no cure and was hiding in plain sight the whole time. His own immune system is attacking the lining of his stomach. There is no approved cure, only lifelong management. It took 11 years of unexplained low iron before doctors finally found the cause. And he had zero symptoms the entire time it was happening. The most tracked human alive still could not see the thing killing him from the inside. So funny. Again, what an incredible irony that this man is claiming the physical health of, I believe it was like 18 to 24-year-old body, due to all the mechanism. And he's like adamant about his sleep. And you can find YouTube videos where he goes through his whole routine. It's absolutely psychotic. I mean, like OCD obsessive. And he does all of that. He's been doing it for what, 4 years now? And he's dying from his own autoimmune. Now, God bless him. I don't wish death on anybody, but the irony. All right. So next topic, and this is the one that's been pretty heated lately and was the talk of the town yesterday. I don't know if you guys saw, but the famous live streamer Sneako, who is at least at one time a homosexual, from my understanding, somebody in the chat can clarify for me, but Sneako was openly questioning his homosexuality or his sexuality when he was younger, thinking that he was gay, and attended like gay strip clubs and was open to dating men and all this stuff. And I remember a few years ago, he converts to Islam, and now he's a hardcore Muslim, even though he does drugs and drinks and all this different stuff. Yeah, Sneako is excited to go watch the Bachabazi boys dance in Afghanistan. I'm sure he'd probably be into that. And ironically, homosexuality, even though Islam explicitly rejects it, there is a Pornhub article or Pornhub statistic, I should say, that was put out, I saw on X, that the most popular porn search in the Middle East was actually like gay men, homosexual sex. So there's a lot of closeted homosexuality within Islam itself. And really, that's probably the most Muslim thing that Sneako does, is he continues a little bit of that tradition. But on July 4th, when America was celebrating its 250th birthday, the semi-centennial, he went in New York and did this.
Takbir! Allahu Akbar! Oh no! Fuck you! This is the Islamic Republic of New Yorkistan. Islam will be in every household. Inshallah, the whole world is Muslim. Welcome to Mamdani's New York. You see this city? You see how it looks? Inshallah, your city looks just like this too.
So it goes on to say that Islam will be in every household. Inshallah, the whole world will become Muslim. Now, anybody familiar with Islamic eschatology, that actually is one of their doctrines, is, the whole jihad thing is that they are on a mission to convert the entire world. So he said all this, and if you caught, and I didn't even bring it up, but Mamdani did a speech on, again, July 4th, essentially criticizing the U.S., surrounded by all these immigrants, not a single white man, not a single heritage American, we'll put it that way. And Mamdani himself is a Muslim communist socialist. His wife just got exposed for, spending thousands of dollars on like Quran yoga retreats. So the guy is a total hypocrite. We already knew this. And this is going to lead into one of these problems that I think the right wing is facing is if you've seen some of these socialist politicians get elected recently, these Democrat socialists, it's because they're criticizing Israel, and rightfully so. But because the average American's IQ is declining, they actually can't hold two opposing views together. And if you are Christian, and even if you're just pro-American, you're like a secularist, Zionism and Islam are not your friend. So just because some Muslims or some Democrats are criticizing Israel does not mean that they are on your team or beneficial in any way. So Mamdani, he goes on to essentially promote New York being a bastion for immigrants and multiculturalism, the same exact thing that's destroying the sacred canopy and the unity of the United States. And this was going around. I just wanted to share it. This is what we need to do, because the people that Sneako is so in favor of and excited about the mass Muslim immigrants coming to the United States, and they are growing. One of the things that my priest talked about. My Orthodox priest this past Sunday during liturgy in his homily spoke about a startling statistic that the fastest growing religion in the Midwest and in the South, what are considered to be the more conservative Christian strongholds in the United States, the fastest growing religion is Islam. And it has to do with all these immigrants that are being brought in. And unfortunately, weak-willed, bought-off politicians like Governor Greg Abbott in Texas, who is being funded by these same power players. But this is what's going on in Ireland. And this is really what gives me a little bit of a hope for the West. So this Irish dad sees 3 Muslim men staring and smiling at kids playing at a playground. And this is how he handles it.
Boys, you don't have to be standing there smiling at my kids. What are you smiling at my kids for? You smiling at my kids for me? Just want them. Get out of this park now. What are you looking at? Get the fuck out of this park now, mate. Do you understand me? Fucking staring at kids. Get out of here now, you filth. Property park. The tree is, boys. Get the fuck out of here now.
And that should be the sentiment of every Western civilizational citizen, no matter what country you're in, Germany to Sweden to England to France, especially Canada and America. And it seems like only the Irish are actually putting up a real fight. And we're going to get into the Citizen Vigilante movie. I don't know if you guys saw it, but I have my own suspicions. We're going to come to it in just a few. But here is Sneako, again, then dealing with the backlash, because what the fallout was from him proclaiming that New York's going to be New Yorkistan, a Muslim nation, a Muslim state in the United States, is that Alex Jones criticized him and said that he should be deported. And he should be. He should be. I mean, I'm no favor of a homosexual Sneako and his Muslim nonsense. And even though he is an American citizen and, you know, the likelihood of him getting deported is very, very little. And I don't know what the legal requirements would be to kick someone out who does have U.S. citizenship. But Sneako, you could see, is visibly upset. There's so many videos of him essentially being a bit emotional. And as Fuentes says, and we'll watch a video of Nick Fuentes reacting to all this, essentially crashing out. And so here today, he posted a thing on X saying, hey, I love my Christian brothers and anyone who is against Israel and what's going on in Gaza. But just the day before, at the height of all this outrage and him still trolling people, he says, Inshallah, the whole world is Muslim. Inshallah, the whole world says La ilaha illallah or Allah can go to heaven. I want the best for you. And I don't know how influential Sneako is. I'm kind of out of touch with some of the young generation, and I'm definitely out of touch with some of this lower IQ stuff. But, you know, Andrew Tate recently put out a video claiming that Sneako was hitting on him. I don't know the veracity of those claims, but it is in line with what we know about Sneako and some of his previous sexual questioning of himself. And then this was him reacting to Alex Jones. So Alex Jones goes off on Sneako and calls for him to be deported, which great. And Elon Musk responded to the calls for Sneako to be deported with yes, which got 4.8 million views. You can see Alex Jones says, deport him now. And this is Sneako then reacting to Alex again going forth and saying he should be deported. He's not American.
Another 4-footer. And I picked up a big limestone, honeycomb limestone rock, and I said, watch this. And I threw it about 15 feet perfectly and splat on the head. And my daughters went, Daddy.
He's doing the citizen vigilante thing. Alex Jones is indirectly calling for people to kill me. He knows it. You know it. His audience knows it. They feel threatened by the truth.
The truth of Islam? Give me a break. The truth of Islam? Islam's one of the most contradictory religions there is. And this whole idea that the Quran is, the word of God revealed to the illiterate Muhammad by the angel Gabriel. Well, they have all these problems. They claim that we as Christians have problems with the scripture because it's been translated so many times. They don't even have the original Quran. In fact, it was burned. All of them were burned. And so all you have is these various versions, and they're all competing versions, and they contradict each other. And inside, the coherency of the Quran is abysmal. So there is no truth in Islam. They may have some moral precepts that we agree with. They may not be as debaucherous as, some of the progressives, but they're no friend of the West, and it's no coherent religion that should be even, investigated in from any Christian as thinking that this is some serious competition. It's only a competition. Here's the thing about Islam. Islam's growing not because it's converting anyone. It's really not. In fact, Islam is losing more people than are converting to Islam. The way Islam is growing around the world is through reproduction. So you look at sub-Saharan Africa, you look at the Middle East, and you see the amount, and Southeastern Asia, places like Malaysia, you see that Islam is growing because Muslim women are having 6 to 10 children, and then they are growing up Muslim. It's not because people are converting to Islam. It's very different than the trajectory of Orthodoxy or Christianity generally, where people are converting to the faith.
Against American values, they don't want discourse, they don't want democracy, they don't want free speech.
Well, democracy is gay, and I'm against free speech if it means that you can blaspheme Christ. I'm in favor of monarchy. I'm in favor of speech laws that can protect our religion and our tradition, especially in the face of multiculturalism, because free speech is, in a way, a sort of way to obfuscate that these people are undermining the very tenets and foundation of the nation that they come to so that they can get more opportunity.
You think normally I could throw away 10 feet perfectly, splat the head? You think normally I could throw a rock perfectly and splat the head? No. It's the defender in me. And you have instincts, too, that you can turn on and you can hone. And Sneako, I'm not calling for splatting his head, but culturally, I'm calling for putting him nonviolently in an airplane like a cannon, a clown in a cannon, about another 4-footer. And I picked up a big honeycomb limestone rock, and I said, watch this. And I threw it about 15 feet perfectly and splat on the head.
So anyways, here is Jones actually calling for his deportation.
Day, whatever group he's with. But here he is in New York, one of the Allah Akbar events where we got a bunch of video chanting, we're taking over Sharia law. He joins in, hops around and screams and says it, but he's not a U.S. citizen and his ass needs to be deported. Elon Musk agreed with me and said yes, and boosted my post on this yesterday. Inshallah. And
is Sneako not a U.S. citizen? From my understanding, he was, because I saw a video of claiming that he was. But does anybody in the chat know? Is Sneako not a U.S. citizen? I thought one of his parents had U.S. citizenship. Somebody clarify for me, because I'm not totally sure. According to Alex, he's not even a U.S. citizen.
Flip-flop from day to day, whatever group he's with. But here he is in New York, one of the Allah Akbar events where we got a bunch of video chanting, we're taking over Sharia law. He joins in, hops around and screams and says it, but he's not a U.S. citizen and his ass needs to be deported. Elon Musk agreed with me and said yes, and boosted my post on this yesterday. Deport him now. Sneako declares New York an Islamic state. Islam will be in every household. Inshallah, the whole world will become Muslim. Well, that is the Quran. It is go read it. I read it twice. It is a battle manual of how he took over Medina and then Mecca and how he promised the world. And he teaches them how to deceive, how to act friendly at first, then push people out of each town, then push them out of the country. This is Islam. And when it's a snake or a spider, I never miss because it's defensive. I click into the mode. You think normally I could throw away 10 feet perfectly, splat the head? You think normally I could throw a rock perfectly and splat the head? No. It's the defender in me. And you have instincts, too, that you can turn on and you can hone. And Sneako, I'm not calling for splatting.
So we already watched the rest of that. But if he's not a U.S. citizen, I'm all in favor of his deportation. I want the least amount of Muslims here as possible. And this is Sneako losing his mind with a conversation between Myron Gaines and his brother, essentially claiming that everyone in the right wing hates Muslims because they're led by, I don't know, hatred and misunderstanding of their beautiful religion and culture. And he sort of glazes Tucker Carlson, claiming that Tucker broke away from the right wing because he has said positive things about Islam. And, you know, I'm not saying that Tucker's experiences in Qatar and Dubai haven't been positive. Obviously, a lot of expats live in those places. But Islam is not a compatible ideology. It's a totally different operating system. And I don't just mean post-Enlightenment Western civilization, which we criticize all the time. I mean Christian civilization. How many of our ancestors, how many of our saints in the Orthodox Church died defending their families and their land from the hordes of Muslims, raping their women, killing the men, and killing off the children? Like, Islam needs to go. And this is the problem with the right wing, is just because they criticize Israel correctly does not mean they're on our team. Zionism needs to go. Islam needs to go. And we need to be more emphatic about this. This whole thing with like Dan Blazarian acting as if Christians and Muslims need to unite. No, they are antagonistic faiths. They are not compatible. I don't want to live around Muslims. I don't want all these Haitian migrants in Ohio. I'm done with all these immigrants. And here's the thing. Here's a video right here that a friend sent me on Instagram of an entire hidden refugee city in Georgia.
And we're going to look and see what we find. So we are outside of, we don't even know where we're at right now, to be honest.
It doesn't feel like we're in the United States. Nonetheless, 10 minutes away from downtown Atlanta. This is the refugee city. And as you guys just saw, we walked into one plaza where there's just one foreign store after another. Hardly do people even speak English in there.
We're making.
And so it's happening, guys. This isn't just, you know, getting upset that there's Muslims and they're getting hired into positions. Newsom, for example, I think it's right here. Newsom just appointed a Muslim county superior court judge. That's right here. And this video is showing all the mosques that have been built in the Dallas-Fort Worth area in the last 24 months, in the last 2 years.
Follow the money. And we're going to start with a Pakistani man named Syed Havad Anwar. Now, Anwar was elected to the Texas Board of Higher Education in 2015 by Greg Abbott. Now, who is this random Pakistani man? He's actually the owner of Midland Energy. Midland Energy obviously produces oil and gas for the state of Texas. And although appointed in 2015 to the Texas Board of Higher Education, in 2020, you'll be glad to know that he was Greg Abbott's top donor of $5,599,500 for the 2020 election. But wait, it gets better, because in 2024, he was also the top donor with $6,120,268. But wait, it gets even better, because in Greg Abbott's current election cycle, this man has already become the top donor with a whopping $2,897,086. Wow. Now, with a Pakistani man being his top donor, you don't bite the hand that feeds you. So if you're ever sitting here questioning why Greg Abbott isn't putting a stop to the Islamic invasion happening in Texas, there's your answer.
And so you guys may have seen the movie Citizen Vigilante. I think Elon Musk posted about it and kept it up for a couple days so you could watch it for free. And it became the most streamed movie on Amazon. And I'll be honest, I watched a little bit of it. It wasn't a great movie. I did like the scene at the end where he takes revenge on the Muslims that are getting away with raping British girls. But I have some questions, because I looked into Citizen Vigilante. It is funded by Jewish organizations, or at least run by organizations run by Jews. And Army Hammer, the main actor here, has a very interesting background. So if you're not familiar, he is half Jewish, but his grandfather, Armand Hammer, who was a billionaire energy tycoon in the United States, his father was actually a Bolshevik. He came from Russia. And when he came to the United States from the Soviet Union as a Bolshevik, he founded the American Communist Party. And so I don't know Armie Hammer's political orientation, but it certainly raised some red flags for me that the movie has a lot of ties back to people who are very wealthy, prominent Zionists. And it seems like they're trying to instigate direct violence against Muslims. And it puts us, whether you're in England, you know, the whole movie kind of takes place in England due to the Rodham rape gangs. But at one point, this is going to have to become violent. If you've seen what's going on in Europe, I mean, even the imams here in the United States and what they say about Americans and Christianity, but they are violent. The knife crime, we saw, again, the Sikh, he's not necessarily Muslim, although Sikhism is basically a hybrid between Hinduism and Islam. If you're familiar with like Guru Nanak and the beginnings of Sikhism, the Punjabis. But remember the kid, Henry Novak, who was killed, stabbed by the Sikh, who then calls the police, lies, claims that he said racist statements. He did not, and stabbed him with his little knife, one of the 5Ks that the Sikhs carry around with them. And you think, is this a film trying to instigate civil discontent in these Western nations, which is only beneficial for the larger control operation that it seems like the central banks and many of the prominent Zionists are trying to deflect all the animosity towards Israel? Because as I'm going to show you, there was a new global poll, and you'll be blown away. It was 97% had an unfavorable opinion of Israel. So the sentiments globally around Israel are not good. And it seems like some of these organizations are trying to instigate ire towards Muslims, which there should be, but it should be towards both parties. And so I see this Citizen Vigilante movie as an opportunity to sort of deflect actual criticism and actual animosity towards the Zionists that control our countries and what Israel's doing in regards to their genocide, both killing innocent Lebanese. They won't stop doing that. Of course, what they've done to the Palestinians. But just be careful. Just be careful. You know, have an above average IQ, an IQ above room temperature, where you can hold both these things to be true at the same time. But here is Nick Fuentes talking. Oh, where did it go? Let me see. Let me pull this back up. I had a video of Nick Fuentes kind of talking about all this stuff, and I thought it was a good little reflection. So here it is.
It's very sad. It's very sad. He seems to be joining up with Hassan Piker and Zohran Mamdani. And it's like I said last week, just because I don't like Israel doesn't mean I'm a communist. Okay? Fuck that. I saw last week all these DSA candidates won their election, and each one is more anti-American and radical than the last. And that's not like a GOP talking point. They're talking about abolishing ICE. You know what that means? Amnesty for 12 million illegals brought in under Biden. So no, just because I don't support genocide and a war with Iran, just because I don't want AIPAC to buy all the elections doesn't mean I'm a communist that wants to abolish the police and the prisons and ICE and legalize weed and abortion and free all the George Floyds from prison and have them wreak havoc on our free buses and free subways and free grocery stores and take all the money from white people and give it to them. I'm not a communist either. And you know what? The DSA is growing in strength. They're going to have like a dozen members of Congress next year. They're making inroads in city councils and state legislatures. The DSA is the enemy, okay? And contrary to what these anti-Israel people say, they say left and right is an artificial divide. That is not true. That is something promoted by the left when they want you to go along with their agenda. I noticed that people like the Young Turks and Max Blumenthal and the rest of them, these are all leftists. They say, let's not focus on the culture war. Right and left is a fake divide. And you go, really? So does that mean you support mass deportations then? And they say, no, we hate ICE. We hate ICE. We're against ICE and we want open borders. And you go, okay, well, that's actually a real divide. That's not a fake culture war issue. That's a real divide. You just call it fake because you want the right to shut up about the things that matter to us. And we're supposed to rally around your pro-feminist, pro-crime, pro-open borders agenda because you're going to take the mantle of Israel criticism in politics? I don't think so. So no, it's in New York. It's Colorado this past week. The DSA is making gains, and make no mistake about it. Look at the Senate candidate in Texas. These people are satanic. They want America to be destroyed, just in a different way. You saw Zoran Mamdani's address on the 250th anniversary of our country, and he's talking about the dirt-streaked hands of the working man. He's a communist, flanked by not a single white person, surrounded on all sides by mystery meat mix of foreigners pushing this Marxist agenda. And all of us are supposed to shut up and go along with it because they're against Israel? Fuck that. And you know what I believe? I think that as the radical left goes more radical, in a way, that's actually a good thing. Because what that will create is a situation where there's actually a need for a radical right. Be careful what you wish for. You want to create your DSA party of anti-white communists coming to take everything from the white man? Be careful what you wish for. Look at how that has played out in history. What happens when the communists get out of control? There's always an immune response. But that's what we need to be. I'm not signing up with Antifa and the DSA and fucking Ilhan Omar because she's anti-Israel. She's the other side of the same coin. She hates this country just as much as Rabbi Mizrahi. She hates this country as much as Randy Fine. She goes in and says, death to America. She wants to support her people in Somaliland or Somalia or whatever. It's the same thing. She says she's disgusted by our country. It's the same thing. So we need to be the radical right. I'm not signing up with Ilhan Omar and Zoran Mamdani and Hassan Piker. These absolute scumbags. These are human garbage. You see Hassan Piker dancing, making fun of Charlie Kirk. Hassan Piker knew Charlie Kirk. They texted, they debated, they met in real life. He dances after that person died. That's who they are. Charlie Kirk debated these people. That was his problem. He showed up to debate him. They shot him. They laughed about it. That was his problem. We're not going to be like that. We're not debating them.
And that's why when he's talking about the radical right, I think a lot of people, at least from the rhetoric I've seen, are going to, again, the propaganda of citizen vigilante maybe causing actual physical violence, which is only going to hamper a true resistance. But at the same time, it's going to become violent. How the hell are the Europeans going to get these Muslims out? They've already declared England's going to be a Muslim nation, and the British government's not doing anything to stop it. They're doing everything they can in opposition to the people. So very tenuous situation regarding these Muslim immigrants. And it's here in America, guys. We're just so much bigger that they get diluted into the multicultural fabric of the United States. But they're not playing games. They're here to take over. They're very clear what their intentions are. Major thank you to Victor Ziegler. Throws in 16, says, let it rain, pay piggies. That's right. Help me reach my super chat goal today on YouTube, or use Dono Chat or Streamlabs. As I said, I got Streamlabs working now, so we can actually see the super chats when they come in on Streamlabs, of which Major thank you to Jimmy Jones, who sent in $10 and says, Codal Crew assemble. Absolutely. And if you're feeling generous, please gift some Codal Crew memberships in the chat. I know all the members love that, or soon to be members. And Victor Ziegler threw in another 10, says, laugh out loud, that refugee city is just your average EU city. Yeah, unfortunately, but it's not supposed to be that way. You know, as I said, one of the sad things about the World Cup is when you watch it, every single European nation is filled with foreigners. I think, Norway is one of the few teams that is actually majority white. You watch the English team, England, there's only like 3-4 white guys on the team that are playing. And it seems to be a general trend in the West right now. All right. Next item of business here. Let's move to the flock cameras. So this is a major thing. I don't know if you guys have been watching this, but the panopticon is here. And the panopticon is a theory, if you're not familiar. It actually, unfortunately, originates with Michel Foucault, the homosexual French scholar, postmodernist, who came and was essentially advocating for not only relativism, but like man love. He got AIDS in bathhouses in the Bay Area, ended up dying from AIDS. One of the few things that he actually did that is worthwhile is he developed the idea of the panopticon, which is really based on Jeremy Bentham's 18th century idea of a concept that allows prisoners of an institution to be observed by a single prison officer, that everyone could be seen by a single individual or a centralized point. And this is without, again, in the 18th century, without the inmates knowing that they're being watched. However, the theory of panopticon develops into the idea that because everyone is being observed, it alters people's behavior patterns, which we already know that when people are in front of a camera, their behavior actually changes. What they do and what they say is altered. Now, we know that we're being watched through our smartphones. We know, and this is why even Netanyahu has his camera covered on his iPhone, because all of that data is being tracked. Your webcam is watching you. We're already being watched all the time. What's so scary is that these flock cameras are doing exactly that. Now, this video here is showing how there's a new trend of people trying to disconnect their cars from the internet, because not only are the flock cameras watching you, but your car, all your data, how fast you're going, the directions, the routes you take, your braking patterns, all of this stuff is being tracked by car manufacturers because your car itself is hooked up to the internet. Well, these flock cameras, and this was a story from here in Indiana, and it's happening all across the country, that people are cutting down these flock cameras because not only are they intrusive, they're doing way more than what they say they're doing. As I said, I showed you previously in another Logos news stream that a man tried to go find the headquarters of Flock, and they have a unmarked building that they are tied with some construction company, and they don't want anybody to know where they're located. They're very, very secretive, very much in favor of their own privacy, but not yours. And so this is a little video. We're not going to watch it, but it's a news item from police in Goshen, Indiana, asking for the public's help to identify the person who cut down 2 flock cameras. Well, this is a trend, and it's going all over the United States. Here's the thing, even cities that are voting against the use of flock cameras, which is what's going on here, they're still being operated despite, we're told we live in a democracy, despite the people voting and the city council voting to shut them down. And for some reason, they're not being shut down and the police are still using them. So this is an instance of over 100 flock cameras that were set to go dark at the end of June last month, so they should not be working right now in the month of July, have bizarrely just remained on, and the police are still using them. On June 17th, the City Council Safety Committee voted to end the contract with Flock because when they asked police to prove these cameras actually reduce crime, the police could only point to 3 cases that led to convictions. So the city council let the contract expire on June 29th. But when people noticed the cameras were still up because Flock volunteered to keep them running for free while the city figures it out, in fact, police confirm they are still running them to keep the community safe. And this is the phrase of Flock. It says, everyone has a right to safety. A right to safety. We have a right to technocratic control and surveillance because it'll keep you safe. Remember, J.D. Vance used that same rhetoric when he was defending Palantir on the Theo Von podcast. We covered that months and months ago. And the company agreed to keep the system live despite the contract expiring. When reporters asked simple questions like, is data still being collected? Do the cameras shut off or keep recording? Who can access what was already stored? It turned out that neither the city nor Folk would answer. And so here's the little news clip discussing this situation in Cleveland.
Clock contract ended, but if you thought the cameras went dark, they didn't. They're not off.
Correct. They're still operational at minimum until July 15th when City Council set to meet again to discuss how they want to proceed.
So what does that mean?
Essentially, they're operable. We're still able to use them should we need them to keep the public safe.
Last Friday, Cleveland City Council President Blaine Griffin sent this memo to Safety Committee Chair Mike Polensek to schedule a second hearing for a, quote, more thorough review and discussion.
It's ridiculous and it's incredibly disappointing.
Community activist Bryn Adams with Flock No says the city should instead invest in root causes of crime.
I think if the police department comes back with some cherry-picked anecdotal evidence about specific cases they've closed, that will still not be compelling to me because it's still not making the city safer.
I think it's always a challenge because if law enforcement is telling you that this is a valuable tool and it's providing value to us, then you're reluctant to let it go away.
CSU law professor Jonathan Whitmer-Rich says figuring out what reduces crime is very complicated.
To say that this technology, hasn't been proven to do that yet, well, it's hard to prove exactly what is, reducing crime. And I think council needs to look seriously at what the data shows, how this is being used, but I wouldn't rule it out of hand as having, no benefit.
Police pointed to its technology, including the license plate readers, for an arrest here on Clark Avenue of the guy accused of shooting two people with a blow dart.
I think it's PR spin. I think, we know that in other places in the country, Flock has invested heavily in crisis management.
In their own news release, police said one of the victims knew the suspect. So did the cameras really make a difference in catching the guy a day later? Police say yes, as one of several tech tools.
Yeah, we could have definitely gone old school. And old school means it could have taken us weeks. So we could have had a suspect out there for weeks.
And so what reminded me of all this Flock stuff is Orwell's 1984. It's Big Brother is watching you. And remember, we talked about with Marshall McLuhan in regards to some of his media theories that he argued in the digital sphere, which we exist in now, that what's going to happen is you're going to externalize what's private and that Big Brother is going to be internalized. Now, in a sort of metaphorical way, but that Big Brother, a centralized control system, is going to know every single thing about you. And that's exactly what we're seeing here. And so we don't, let alone the psychological effects to know that wherever you go in the United States, and there's maps that you can get on and find where all these Flock cameras are, you are being tracked. Here's another video of just yesterday coming out of Houston, Texas, where on the 4th of July, they began to cut down these same Flock cameras and then put American flags once they spray painted over the camera.
With an American flag on it, and not far away, there's another Flock camera on the ground as well. HPD says it's investigating this, but so far, there are more questions than answers. These cameras, meant to help solve crimes, now becoming the target of one, both cut in half and covered in spray paint.
Yeah, I didn't realize that the cameras were there until you actually pointed that out.
Juan Rodriguez's business, Spar Houston, is located by Washington Avenue and Westcott, where this happened. These are Flock cameras, meant to read license plates and alert police if they're connected to crimes. Rodriguez says he didn't see who did this, but he's left wondering why they did.
That's what it sounds like it would be. Somebody just protesting, their rights are being violated or something like that.
Flock cameras have been used in the city of Houston since 2021, according to the company. The Houston Police Department tells us they were notified these cameras were damaged on the morning of July 4th. As far as the repair costs, HPD says it depends on who is responsible for these specific cameras. While some cameras are installed through city contracts, others are done with neighborhoods or private groups that choose to share footage with police. HPD couldn't confirm who was responsible for these cameras, only saying this is an ongoing investigation. ABC 13 reached out to Flock asking if they were aware of this situation and what the repair process would look like. They didn't answer those questions, but did say, quote, damaging public safety equipment is illegal and puts the community at risk, which is why we strongly condemn this type of behavior. Camera has been.
Now, they strongly condemn this type of behavior. Have you guys read Brave New World by Aldous Huxley? Because in that book, he basically describes the modern society that we live in. He talks about how it will be comfortable. People will be led by entertainment, consumerism. They'll seek pleasure regarding everything. And that technology will be advanced to the point that everything will be tracked. In fact, there's, I believe, a direct quote from Brave New World is that installing cameras reduces crime. So installing cameras reduces crime. That's exactly what Flock is saying. That's exactly what these technocrats and Palantir and JD Vance are saying. And it feels very much like we're in 1984 Brave New World territory with this technology monitoring every aspect of your life. Now, here is a situation in which a woman was targeted by police claiming that she was responsible for committing a crime because the Flock camera picked up her license plate. So she was driving in her own neighborhood, and in her neighborhood, there was a problem with people stealing like Amazon packages on the front porch. And because Flock tracked her license plate entering and leaving the neighborhood so many times, the police said they had concrete 100% evidence that she was responsible, when turns out she was not. She was not the woman in one of the Ring cameras stealing these packages, but Flock was then used to arrest her, put her in jail. She got out, and then she was able to defeat the charges. But imagine they accused her of a murder. The police, and listen to what the police officer says. He says, I'm 100% sure it was you, and you know, nothing gets in and out of our city that's not tracked by these Flock cameras.
Charged with a crime that you did not commit.
Cameras everywhere in that town. You can't get a breath of fresh air in or out without us knowing.
Chrisana Elzer learned the power of Flock firsthand.
You were in town from 11:52 until 12:09. Exactly. Like I said, nothing gets in or out of the town without us knowing.
When a Colorado...
Take note of what he said there. Nothing gets in or out of the town without them knowing. Your every movement is being tracked.
Police officers showed up at her door holding Flock snapshots of her truck.
And here's when you left at 12:09. That's when you left town.
To get.
No, to stop at Ridge Trail.
Wait a minute.
And take a package. Well, there's no shushing. I don't need to be.
I need to know where this is.
The first thing he pulled out.
The cop gets an attitude with her.
On the body cam is that Flock picture, the clear photograph of your car.
But here's your vehicle in the neighborhood many, many times, apparently casing houses, because you just can't drive through for work or visit other businesses. You can only be casing houses.
That's all it's going to take. You're going to be in the wrong place at the wrong time, and they're just going to assume that it was you that did it. Now imagine if it was a really bad crime.
It is her. It is 100%. It is locked in. There is zero doubt. I wouldn't have come here unless I was 100% sure. 100%. It is certain. It is on video. You're obviously welcome to go to court.
Chrisana was charged with stealing a package, but it wasn't her. The porch pirate was somebody else. Multiple times you tried to show him your video evidence. He didn't want to see it.
Even when I called him back, he said, that's not my job.
You looked at the time of a crime. You saw my vehicle entering in the Flock camera. No, what I did was I did an investigation. You called my wife a liar. You know this is fact. I have video evidence.
I can't blame the husband for being heated.
So I don't know what you want me to say.
The charges were dropped after Chrisana spent weeks trying to get the police chief to look at her evidence. Time-stamped video from her truck and a neighbor's doorbell camera showing she wasn't at the scene of the crime. What does it say about where we are that you feel you have to have more cameras than the police have in order to make sure you can prove yourself innocent?
It sounds like it flipped the script to your.
That's honestly a smart play. Make sure you have cameras in your car, on your car, just GPS, everything. That way they can't pin anything on you.
Guilty until you prove yourself innocent.
Without a flock camera, that detective would not have been at her door. By his own admission, he pulled out the flock picture of her car. Do you want to apologize to Chrisana Elzer for what happened to her?
Police misusing the tools? I don't think that I have to apologize.
He wasn't charged
for
with a
him.
crime. He wasn't, I mean, other than being reprimanded for his attitude.
Sure. No, but I would tell you that, like, should I apologize for somebody misusing a tool? I don't think so.
Flock safety chief.
They will absolutely misuse it too.
Communications officer Josh Thomas. Who's watching the watchers in these cases?
Well, the city council. The city owns the data, so city council would have the appropriate responsibility in that case. Our point of view has always been that it is not Flock's job to police the way police do their work.
We have cameras everywhere in that town. You can't get a breath of fresh air in or out without us knowing.
Chrisana Elzer learned that.
So who watches the watchers? Oh, the city council. Oh, you mean like the city council in Cleveland that voted to disregard and no longer renew the contract with Flock, and that they continue to work, and that now Flock gives it to the police for free because they're already installed? You mean that city council? So you see, even the city councils don't have control when you vote against the Flock cameras. And so these videos have been going viral. Because people are going around and cutting these down all over the United States. Here is a man who is just revving his motorcycle. It backfires, and within a minute, 37 seconds, the police arrive at his house claiming he was shooting an automatic weapon.
Flock cameras I warned you about. Check this out. This guy's in his driveway, revving his engine on his motorcycle. It backfires a couple times. Not even a minute and 37 seconds later, a cop shows up saying that the flock cameras had triangulated his position, led him straight to him, saying he was firing a sub-automatic machine gun. This shit's crazy.
1 minute, 37 seconds later.
So we have, how it works is that we've got sensors all in the area. So what it did, so it pinpointed, it used triangulation, right? So it heard it, and literally, you're standing right there. Yeah. And so it put it in the wood line. Yeah. So it was, so it goes to a computer in the sky, and then they flag, they're supposed to alert us within 60 seconds of receiving it. They get it, and then it's like this one, it flagged it as a rifle, high capacity, full auto. Damn! So yeah, that's what it was.
And flock cameras I warned you about.
Flagged him for a high-capacity, fully automatic rifle for revving his motorcycle. This is a guy, we'll watch the video, but he shows how the flock camera isn't just tracking your license plate, because that's what they tell you. The only thing that it does is it scans license plates for police so that they can track people. He shows that the damn thing is tracking him while he's walking on the sidewalk when there's no cars around because it's late at night. So here's the thing. We don't know what's actually inside these flock cameras. They admit that it's run by an AI system. They admit that it can scan license plates. It can find intimate details about your car. If there's any minor scratch or something, they can immediately recognize it. But they say, oh, no, there's no facial recognition. We don't track people. We don't do anything like that. Yet there's instances, and you can find multiple videos like this, where people highlight the flock cameras are tracking them while they're walking by them. And this was a video that I saw on multiple platforms. I think I first saw it on Instagram, and it had hundreds of thousands of views of this guy telling you what not to do regarding these flock cameras. You know, so whatever you do, don't cut them down. Don't do any of the things that he mentions.
Leave flock cameras alone. There's no need to label all the flock cameras in your area. And don't put plastic bags over them either, because all that does is cost the company time and money. Grow up. I know that you can use a $50 high-powered blue or green laser like this one to permanently blind flock cameras, but come on, guys. Why? Definitely do not use the camera map on dflock.org to find cameras, approach them from behind on foot with a spray paint extender, and spray them. And if you do that, at least make sure that you have your phone in your pocket so we can identify you using the Bluetooth and 5G. There is no reason to spend $20 on a hard hat and high visibility vest and then buy a $30 Sawzall with diamond tip blades to cut down the entire pole. That's because the cameras and solar panels are clamped with a simple 8mm socket, so you're just doing too much. The cameras have about 12 hours of backup battery, so they will be transmitting Bluetooth and 5G that we can use to track you. So under no circumstances should you put the camera inside of a Faraday bag while the battery runs itself out and then break them down for parts, because that would prevent us from finding you, and nobody wants that. If you do any of these things, it's important that you do not buy a pair of Vader facial recognition blocking glasses, because then it would be impossible for us to identify you and charge you with a class 4 misdemeanor, which is typically just community service or a small fine. And for the love of God, do not attend your city council meetings and demand that they cancel your city's flock contract. We need these cameras. Peter Thiel is a benevolent overlord, and we should all be grateful that he loves us enough to keep us safe. Grow up.
So if you guys want that video for future reference, just so you know what not to do, I will share that link because it is useful. I recently saw here in a very rural suburb in Indiana, flock cameras all over the place. I was driving with my wife and she didn't know what they were. I go, look, there's a flock camera. Look, there's another one just right down the street. So it's not like they're just in high density populations. They are all over the place. Major thank you to OG2ENZ. Throws in $5, no comment. Thank you very much, my brother, and throws in 2 of them. God bless you. The iconic order throws in 5, says data centers and flock are 2 sides of the same coin. Dealing with one of the biggest data centers in the country proposed in my hometown. Frustrating. Are you the one in Utah? Are you talking about the one in Utah recently that Mr. Wonderful of Shark Tank recently was behind? Kevin O'Leary. The iconic order throws in another 5, says we are the frog in the boiling water. Absolutely. Now is the time to act over this stuff, but everyone is afraid. No great men in history didn't take risks. Exactly. And he said, no great men in history allowed this. God help us. And shout out to you, the iconic order, for all the support. He throws in another one, says people support the underdog, the little guy, oppose the corpo bad guys in fiction, Empire, Big Brother, etc. In real life, people support flock and data centers. They are. They absolutely are. Lucas Wolf Music throws in 5, says, nice reverse psychology pushing people into buying cameras to protect themselves. Just helps the surveillance state. Yeah, see eagle-eyed. No, it's a great point. The more cameras we have, the more, especially if you have Bluetooth or it has access to the internet or it connects to a Wi-Fi system, it can track. It's being used to track you. It's being used to watch you. And remember, again, Marshall McLuhan in the 1960s said, eventually the TV, you won't just watch the TV will be watching you, which is exactly what's happening. We've already seen Alexa and all these, Siri devices, how they're tracking everything that you're saying. Your conversations are being recorded. And much of that data is also being sent to Israel because many of these tech companies have ties with Israeli corporations as well. The iconic order, excuse me, Throws in another 5, says, useful idiots reply, if you have nothing to hide, don't worry about the flock, or you're anti-data center while on social media using a data center. Yeah, they are useful idiots, because this really is not about safety. This is about mass surveillance. This is about tracking every single person in the country. This is about social credit scores. That's where this is all going. This is the Chinese system, the credit score system. Just like in China, if you are deemed to be insufficient in your support of the Chinese Communist Party, the CCP, for example, during COVID and after COVID, when people posted things that were against the official narrative, what happened to them? Well, their bus pass was revoked, because to get on a bus in China, you have to use a digital scanning device. Well, it doesn't work, so you can't get on the bus. You can't leave the city. There's literal gates that you have to scan to get through from one province to another. And so essentially they can put you on house arrest in China if they so deem fit. Well, that's exactly what's going to be happening here. And you're a fool if you don't think so. You're a fool if you think all of this flock cameras are going to protect you from criminals. They're not, because all the criminal has to do is not have a cell phone on them, cover their face, wear all black, commit crimes at night. The flock's not going to be able to track anybody, but you as an upstanding citizen with your face exposed, with your license plate on your car, you will be tracked. The Iconic Order throws in $2, says, thanks for covering this. I'm in the battle firsthand. Well, thank you, brother, for the support. God bless you. Chair Throwing Italian throws in $7.50, says, data center being planned in town near me. Provincial government said they'd stop charging people from speed cams, but never took them down. Yeah. Well, there's a huge fight right here in Indiana near Lafayette, where Purdue University is. It's a bunch of farmland, and they want to build data centers. I think they're backed by Amazon, and the people don't want them. But guess what? The people on the city council do, just like what happened in Utah. Again, many people speculate they're being paid off by these massive corporations. And they always say, oh, it's going to bring revenue to the city. You know, some of the tickets and the violations that will be monitored, that revenue will be given back to the city. No, it's just a bribe for the people, the innocent civilians, to be surveilled constantly. And that's probably why they need more and more data centers. What's the data for? It's not just AI. It's to track every single aspect of your life for every single person in the country. That's what's going on. And here, the CEO of Flock, this article or this video, the CEO of Flock just said the quiet part out loud and people are losing it. Remember when Flock cameras were only supposed to read license plates? Apparently that's not enough anymore. Now we're talking about AI that can find a vehicle from a single description, microphones that are always listening to so-called sounds of distress, drones that can be launched automatically after a 911 call, and camera networks that can follow movement across entire cities. Every year, the cameras get smarter, the database gets bigger, and the amount of information being collected keeps growing. Then came the comment that got people's attention. The CEO behind Flock, one of the largest camera networks in America, reportedly compared people who map camera locations as terrorists. So now you're a domestic terrorist. You're a domestic terrorist for wanting to have some level of privacy. And here he is stating exactly that.
This is terrifying. According to the CEO of Flock, if you even try to map where his cameras are in your city, you're a terrorist.
There's an organization called DFlock, who are semi-well known now, I guess, if you're interested in this stuff, who take a fairly aggressive approach in terms of counting the number of cameras and having a Discord channel where they talk about potential, activities to move against Flock and stop it expanding.
And then unfortunately, there's terroristic organizations like DFlock, whose primary motivation is chaos. They are closer to Antifa than they are anything else.
This is pretty ironic coming from the guy who proudly says he's putting hundreds of thousands of cameras across America.
But to your point, we have really three broad buckets of technology. We have devices that detect evidence. So, we mentioned a camera that focuses on car. We have cameras that focus on people. We have gunshot detection. That's really like things that capture that evidence. And then we have.
So he just admitted that they have cameras that focus on people. Now, again, I looked it up before the stream. Officially, they said they just track license plates.
Of AI that decodes it. So one of the problems that we create unintentionally is, well, if you have 100 license plate readers, you now have a lot of information. How do you decode that with AI? And so we have a product we call Freeform that allows you to type in English language heuristics, something like, I'm looking for a Ford F-150 from the 1990s with a racing stripe and rust on the front. And we'll find that car. And then we have a third bucket of software and hardware that is really how do you deliver and respond faster. So we manufacture drones. So when a 911 call comes in, instead of having to wait for an officer to show up, boom, you click a button, the drone is there in 30 seconds, in 45 seconds. And then a handful of software products that also help deliver that same kind of rapid response.
And the time frame on when you think crime will no longer exist?
Well, I think the cool part is that it's really a two-step evolution. Like step one is you have to solve crime. So if you look at all of the primary research on the topic, so not my opinion, but what academics have studied.
They're not even hiding the surveillance state anymore. They're building it in plain sight. Hell, even the name Flock fits perfectly with Animal Farm, a George Orwell book about a totalitarian state. But it somehow gets even worse. The CEO openly admits that many of his own customers don't even know which type of Flock camera they have.
So we just started doing it and just kind of brute forced through pain and sweat. Our customers have no idea what version of camera they're on. They think they have the Flock camera. We're on version like 4.6 or whatever.
And that's important because these aren't just license plate readers. Some of them can also capture audio and collect digital signals from nearby devices.
This particular device does not have a camera in it. It has a very sensitive microphone connected to AI. It listens for, quote, sounds of distress. The only way it can detect sounds of distress is if it's always listening. And then what is the threshold for a sound of distress is a matter of policy. When the news segment aired, they showed me sharing my concerns about how this technology is going to be used.
In cities like Atlanta, you're almost always on camera. There's reportedly about one camera for every 10 people.
Atlanta has more surveillance cameras per person than anywhere in the US.
It's definitely very observable that you are being watched.
On the way here, I think I passed 20 Flock cameras. So my car was tracked 20 times just getting here. And the question is, do we really want to be living in this type of community where surveillance is now the answer to public safety?
But here's where it gets really disturbing. The CEO keeps insisting these cameras exist to keep everyone safe.
If we're successful, which knock on wood, we'll keep up that path. In 10 years from now, America as a country is a dramatically different place. It is a place where crime doesn't exist, where people are starting businesses and they're building families.
Where crime doesn't exist. So he's going to eliminate crime through mass surveillance. Again, it's Brave New World. Installing cameras stops crime. That's literally the statement in Brave New World.
And they will largely look back and they'll be, my kids will be in high school. In the U.S. history book, there'll be a part about Flock and how because of Flock, we are a safer, happier, healthier country.
Then how do you explain officers allegedly using them to stalk their exes or to intimidate innocent people?
The scariest part about the 18 cops so far found to use the Flock system to stalk their exes, but it wasn't just their exes they were stalking. And we're not just talking looking up license plates a couple of times. This one police chief in Kansas alone ran his ex-girlfriend and her new boyfriend's license plates hundreds of times, using the information to then hunt them down.
We have cameras everywhere in that town. You can't get a breath of fresh air in or out without us knowing.
Right now, you're watching body camera footage of a police officer wrongfully accusing an innocent woman of package theft at her Colorado home after he used Flock evidence to target her.
Because you have not been honest with me, so I'm not going to extend you any courtesy of showing you a video when I don't need to.
But I can show you videos.
No, you cannot. I can show you. No, you're not being honest with me.
Now watch this. A journalist shows just how easy it is to hack one of these cameras.
None of the data or video footage was encrypted. There was no username or password required. These were all completely public facing for the world to see, and some of them still are. You don't have to be an expert to find and gain access to this.
He also demonstrates how they're programmed to lock onto things like your phone or even your face.
And rollerblade and then take a break to watch rollerblading videos on his phone. How? Because the camera's AI automatically zoomed in on it. Just like it zoomed in on a couple arguing at a street market in Atlanta. So what? They're still anonymous, right? No.
And these cameras aren't just on highways anymore. They're showing up next to playgrounds and public beaches, places where children play and where families go to relax.
Pretty interesting. If you want to come down and have a beautiful day at the beach, you are going to be tracked coming in and coming out. There's one over there, and there's this one here. These are the flock tag readers, and they're at every single beach approach.
And they're not just tracking X's. This is a former Monroe County, Florida deputy, Lamar Roman, who worked security on a TV series, got a little bit interested in one of the women and began using Flock to track her whereabouts. And then he would pull her over. We're not going to watch the video at 16 minutes, but essentially he admits that he was using Flock to find this particular girl that he was fond of while he was married, by the way, right? This is a married officer. And then he would pull her over just so he could talk and flirt with her. So illegal detention by pulling someone over for no crime committed. And he was tracking this woman entirely through Flock. So the iconic order throws in $2 more, says you should do an open panel on this topic soon. Yeah, it would be. I'd be curious to hear my buddy Jose Miguel's thoughts on all this stuff, because it's crazy. It's crazy everything that they're doing right now. Absolutely nuts. All right. So next bit of news that we're going to be diving into, and this one is a little bit shorter because I don't have as much to go over, but we're going to tap into the latest, what's going on with the Charlie Kirk preliminary hearing regarding the prosecution of Tyler Robinson. And this video was really getting some traction last week. This was Candace Owens' interview with Sean Ryan. Sean Ryan, the former intelligence agent, has a lot of interesting conversations. Many people skeptical of him, but I wanted to play this one section because I know that I've been getting messages people trying to get my opinion on the latest Andrew Wilson, Rachel Wilson beef going on regarding TPUSA and some of the potential theories regarding Charlie Kirk's assassination. Now, Rachel and Andrew are friends of mine, and they've always been good friends. We may have different opinions, for example, on Epstein or the satanic pedophile elite, which I believe exists. Absolutely. That's based on my own research. Maybe Andrew feels differently. That's fine. We can have difference of opinions. I saw a lot of people claiming that Andrew is getting paid by TPUSA. From my understanding, that was for him and Rob Noor to go there and teach various representatives how to debate when they go to these various campuses. So that's from my understanding. In regards to the Charlie Kirk assassination, I do have a lot of questions regarding Tyler Robinson being the sole culprit of the assassination. I have questions of the fact that his trans lover was never questioned by police. Seems a bit strange. I do think it's strange how they put new pavers at the exact site that Charlie Kirk was assassinated, but that's not evidence. And that's what Andrew's whole point when talking about these often women who are obsessive and promoting Candace's theories, that just because there are questions and there are gaps in the story doesn't necessarily mean that is positive evidence to the contrary. Now, one of the big things that I have a question about is we're told the video that shows Tyler Robinson coming down the rooftop where he was laying in a prone position and shot a 30-06 into the neck of Charlie Kirk, that we have a video, but we never see the video of him going up there. I thought that's a bit strange. I've shot a 30-06. I find it very difficult to believe that wound that Charlie Kirk sustained was from a 30-06 rifle. But again, that's not necessarily positive evidence that I could prove something to the contrary. So it is what it is. I think that there's some type of cover up. Maybe there's multiple people involved. I don't know. Again, do I think Erica Kirk killed Charlie Kirk? No, I do not. Do I think TPUSA was behind Charlie getting assassinated? I haven't seen clear evidence to insinuate that. I have seen the theories about his views on Israel changing, and that seems to be legitimate. And the story about Netanyahu potentially offering money to TPUSA or taking them to the next level, that's something that Candace has put forth. So just to present all the ideas, this is Candace Owens, and we're just going to watch the section on crime scene questions. Because she basically puts forth the argument that people like Ian Carroll and others online are promoting as some type of fact. Again, you can't prove it. That's the problem. That's the problem with this whole thing. I do think there's holes in the story. Seems like there's probably more people involved, but there's no positive evidence to prove the contrary right now. However, we're going to hear Candace Owens put forth her claims of what she thinks is going on and some of the holes regarding his assassination.
Their stories quite a bit.
Why do you think that they repaved that thing? How many days afterwards?
Because by Sunday, they had the person coming out of Sunday. So Charlie got shot at 12:23 on a Wednesday, and they had early morning on Sunday pavers come in. And even before then, they had the soil removed by a separate group of people.
They had the soil removed?
The soil removed first, 10 inches of soil removed first.
Do they do that at any other murder scene, anywhere?
Absolutely not.
The soil removed? Why the fuck would they have the soil?
Well, their excuse is we were putting down pavers. So it is normal to remove soil to put down pavers. But why were you putting down pavers? Why were you paving over the crime scene? And in that scenario, I think you normally do from somebody that is in that space said that about 8 inches you would remove so that you can install the pavers. They removed 10 inches of soil, and they had 2 separate people do it. So they had people working for the government that removed the 10 inches of soil, and then the next day the pavers came in and put in the pavers. That's not normal. You have the same group of people that do both. So they had the dirt removed.
And I did play a video of the people that were hired to come do the movers, because the guy is in Utah. I don't know if he was a Mormon or a Christian. I think he was a Protestant, but he said that his company doesn't work on Sunday and that they gave him a very large sum of money to come and install those new pavers on Sunday, the day that they demanded that it must be done. It does seem questionable, but again, it doesn't prove anything specifically, but it certainly raises questions. And this is why what I saw yesterday from the preliminary day one hearing regarding Tyler Robinson and the Charlie Kirk assassination, I didn't see much that came from it. I'll show you a couple things as we move forward. I think the most interesting thing that came about yesterday was the fact that the body cam footage of the police officer who claimed to have gone to the rooftop and saw where Tyler Robinson was laying in prone position, it shut off after only 27 minutes of use. And those body cams are designed, from my understanding, to be live for 12 hours at a time. So did he turn it off? I don't exactly know. I thought that was the strangest thing that came from yesterday, but the defense attorney, the woman that's defending Tyler Robinson, didn't seem to be highly competent either. So I don't know what to make of it.
And so we'd have to imagine that happened Saturday at the latest, right? And because then by Sunday morning, the guy who had to put together a ragtag team to do the paving, he did an interview and spoke about it and said he was told that the instructions were coming down from the governor of Utah and Kash Patel's office. Probably a good guy to put on the stand. I've taken a long time to get to a place where I wanted to put forth a theory on what happened that day. I think there is a lot of evidence that they would have found explosives, which if I guess the way PETN is said is like, what do you guys say?
Patton.
I'm trying to learn all of the inside terms and sound like I know what I'm talking about on all the military guy stuff. But if Patton was the explosive that was used, and I think there is a strong theory that should be explored, that a shaped charge was used to kill him, and that what killed him was on him. If you look into Patton, it is pretty resistant. It stays on soil. There you can read tons of articles about it. You just have to remove the soil.
So you think that
I think there was explosives. I think that explains, as I was unpacking on my show, a lot of the holes in the story that didn't make sense. If you run the theory that he was killed with a Patton shaped charge, then they all suddenly start to make sense. Why they wouldn't bring the bomb dogs over to where Charlie died.
See, I can't remember what this guy his name is, but my editor, you were just chatting with him. He brought it to my attention. He was chatting with this guy right after it happened. So I guess almost a year ago. And once I just never know so many fucking people are trying to get clicks and shit. You know what I mean? That I'm like, I don't think it adds up. And he would describe, how it was going to work or how it supposedly worked. And yeah, it was shaped charge inside the microphone, right?
Yeah.
And they had all these videos that show the blast and everything, but I don't know what's AI and what isn't. I don't fucking believe anything unless it's literally right in front of my face. Then I still don't believe most of it. But to have the thing that really got me was to have a microphone on a loose shirt when he's up in a chair, like moving around. It just
mic on the inside, by the way.
Mic on the inside?
Yeah, the mic is on the microphone, which is totally senseless.
Wait, was it taped to his chest?
What you see on the outside is the magnet that's holding the mic that's on the inside. Which, like any person who mics knows, you don't put the mic on the inside because you get the sound. And they were putting it on the inside. Like you might do that if it's a super windy day or cold day to avoid the
I thought it
winds.
was that fucking new DJI mic that everybody's using.
No, it's a Rode mic Pro. So that's just the metal. That's just the magnetic clasp that's on the outside.
They put it on the inside.
Which they started doing. It was a new thing. It was just a new thing that they were doing. And so
how long have you been tracking this?
How long had I been tracking?
Microphone thing.
I always try to approach things with just, what do I observe with my own eyes? And when I brought myself to being able to watch the footage of Charlie dying, the first thing I thought was that he was shot from below. Because I watched his shirt go out and I watched the friction of his body, and I saw that his necklace broke before he was hit. I always thought that was so strange. I was like, somebody explain to me why if someone shot him from above, his necklace would break first and whip this way, because necklace whips this way, and then he gets hit. And then and I was like, so I just, in my head, and I was assuming that it was a gun, was like, I think someone was under him. Like, that's the only thing that would explain his shirt doing whatever. And then I saw John Bray, who you're referring to. He was online and he was talking about this explosive. And I saw that, and I was like, in my head, with my limited knowledge on what he was speaking about, I went, oh, well, it's not going to be explosive, because then if it was a bomb, Charlie would have been burned and charred. And I knew that his body was not burned and charred.
Snaggle Beast, shout out to you, brother. Good to see you in the chat. Member for 28 months. Says Jim Bob mentioned this last week. Candace has one speaking skill: walking someone down a line of incredulity. If you slip up, it seems to make sense. Fair enough. Fair enough. I will say, though, there has to be more to this story. Again, the 30-06 to the neck with no exit wound, I just find that totally unbelievable as someone who shot a rifle with a 30-06 round. I can't see that being the case. The paver thing is strange. The whole Erica Kirk is behind it. TPUSA wanted to kill him because he's changing his views on Israel and becoming Catholic. That seems a bit far-fetched to me, especially with the close relations he had with Andrew Colvett and some of those other people at TPUSA. I don't know what to make of it, though. So for me, I am reluctant to adopt the official narrative. I think there seem to be holes that are totally unexplained. Maybe they'll come to light during the trial. We will find out. But I do agree that what Candace does is she puts a lot of things that are questionable together as positive evidence, and that's not how it works. That's not how positive evidence works. So, you know, I don't know what to make of it. I think her raising questions, is there anything wrong with that? No. I think her attacks on Erica, I hope that she's right, because if she's not, that is evil. If she is wrong about Erica Kirk and regarding all this stuff, it is disgraceful how she has attacked her publicly. If it's all true, then rightfully so. We don't know. Exactly. The narrative is legit. Why the flipping lies, dude? Titanium spine theory. It can't be the case. It just can't be. To me, what seems plausible is that Tyler Robinson was in on it. He was a patsy, and that there was another shooter or something somewhere else, or something else happened. Someone else was involved. Remember the guy who was charged with child porn, who stood up, and he was at 9/11 and the Boston bombing, and he claimed that he did it and started taking his pants off and dancing. A lot of strange events that would make you think that it was coordinated in some way. But all of Candace's theories together doesn't prove a case. And I did find it a bit strange how she's almost defending Tyler Robinson as of yesterday, but we'll find out. We'll find out. I'm just so skeptical of any of the official narratives regarding really anything nowadays that we'll see what comes of it.
And so I kept following him. And what happened was we got exclusively the car photos and the car that transported Charlie to the hospital, what that car looked like, which they tried very quickly to get rid of that car. They towed it, had it sent for to be cleaned and resold, which is also an absolute nonsense. That car would have been put into evidence. But when I saw the car pics, first thing I said was, oh, that's so weird. Like, well, why is there black glass on the floor? Right away, just like a ton of black, what looked to my eye as glass shards on the floor. And John Bray messaged me, and he said on X, he said, I just watched your episode. That's exactly what I was looking for to support my theory. And then I said, what do you mean? He said, I've been saying that his road mic was rigged, but in order for my theory to be true, the road mic would have had to explode into a million pieces, and that would have been on Charlie, and they would have had to get that off of him in the car. And so I went, well, I have car photos, and there's very clearly, now to play devil's advocate, as I always try to do, it could have been somebody's sunglasses they stepped on that broke into a million. It's a lot of glass. It's in the seat that Charlie was on. It's behind. Hard plastic, 80, I think it's called ABS plastic. And if you watch videos, people just smashing a road mic, that's exactly what it looks like. It's littered all over the floor. So now we have to say, why did his necklace break first, then his road mic break second? And we're looking at a trajectory, right? Before he gets hit. And you do see it move across. Like if you watch the video again, without trying to be an expert, if you just sometimes look at a video and say, what do you see? Slow it down. What do you observe happening? And that is what you observe. You observe something moving across his chest, and then suddenly you see a wound here. And that was my starting point. And so I never bought the idea that he was on, somebody shot him from a low rooftop. That made no sense to me. That nobody saw him shoot him is even crazier to me. This is a college campus in the middle of the day. Somebody would have seen him take a shot. And so then what added to me thinking this is now very plausible was the 30-06 Superman neck, you know?
And I'll agree that one is hard for me to fathom. And Randolph makes an interesting point. He says, none of it makes sense, but Erica or TPSV being directly involved is a stretch. Yeah, I find that to be a stretch as well. But maybe that's Candace's job, is to present so much crazy evidence that when anyone questions the narrative, they get lumped in with Candace. Maybe that's the case. It's so hard to trust anyone nowadays. You know, everyone thinks everyone's a Fed. It's like the Spider-Man meme, and everyone's pointing at each other saying, you're the Fed, you're the Fed. I got accused of being a Fed. I can assure you I'm not a Fed. Someone accused me of being a Fed Freemason. Strangest accusation I've ever encountered against me. So there are crazy people out there that just kind of default to everyone being a federal agent. But I don't agree with the official narrative. There has to be more to it, but also everything that Candace is presenting seems to be an absolute stretch as well.
Now you're asking us to be idiots. Now the demand is for us to be idiots, and they did it in such an emotionally manipulative, despicable way, which has now become the turning point way, which is to just say God, the Lord, the miracle, and if you don't believe in it, then you don't believe in God, and you're not honoring God if you don't believe.
Yeah, I see you guys in the chat talking about Erica. I will agree. Some of her actions after the assassination have been strange. Her being so smiley 5.5 days after the assassination, talking about merch sales and how much money they made through t-shirts. Yeah. Do I find it strange? Yes. Do people cope differently with traumatic events? Yes. Her strange behavior, or potential strange behavior, at least from my perspective, if my wife saw me get assassinated, does raise questions, but maybe that's how she handles it. Maybe that's how she grieves. I don't know. I've never been a huge fan of Erica Kirk. And I don't know exactly what's going on with the TPUSA organization. So do I find some of Erica Kirk's behavior after the assassination questionable? Absolutely. Does it mean that she was involved with the assassination? No, there's no direct connection there. So again, what do you make of that?
In the miracle of this was the biggest lie that Erica told me, and completely transformed my opinion of her. I think, I sat down with her for 4 hours. I was reticent to explore any conspiracies about her. I was slow to do it because, first and foremost, she's the mother of Charlie's kids. That's first and foremost. Secondly, it required me to have to go through a second stage of grief that I was not ready to do. I had a very hard time with Charlie's death, still do. But to be the person that Charlie was speaking to so much about how much he wanted love, to when I had to take time off and just go to Wyoming and try to get my head right after it, I read through all of our messages, and so I relived it all. And because I was in a phase of denial. I was really at that phase where I was hoping, and I went through bargaining, I went through anger, I went through a very aggressive stage of denial. And I think my husband was realizing that I needed to get away at that point, because I was trying to say, like, no, maybe he's really alive. Maybe they put him in witness protection. Like, that's that bargaining. And then also the denial that's just in my face. And when I got out there and I was reading the messages, and before she came into his life, and Charlie just really, really, really wanted love, right?
Okay. Charlie wanted a wife. So many men do. Silent Juice throws in 2, says, for the goal. Thank you very much, brother. We have 2 minutes left to get 4 more. Help me get 4 more. Reach my super chat goal for the day. We just need 4 more. We got 2 more minutes. Maximus, the Confessor, throws in 5, says, I shot elk, deer, and antelope with my 30-06. 0 chance there wouldn't be an exit wound on Charlie. Agreed. To the Chicken, throws in 5, says, I would argue that there is enough evidence to legally prove reasonable doubt. Fair enough. I think there is a lot of suspicious things going on regarding it. And Byzantine Soldier throws in 5, says, is the digital surveillance the forerunner of the mark? Certainly a forerunner, certainly is going to participate in the larger spirit of Antichrist, tracking and surveilling every aspect of our lives. No doubt about that. Silvergore throws in 5. I'm not a Fed is what a Masonic Jesuit Fed would say, but we are all KGB ortho bro wizards. Yeah, fair enough. I am a KGB. I get my direct orders. In fact, I was just on the phone with Putin before going live, getting my orders from Moscow and the Kremlin, at least according to David Wood. And Kyle throws in 5, no comment. Thank you so much, brother, for helping me reach my goal. We got 1 minute left. We just need 2 more super chats. We reached the goal for the day. So thank you so much for everyone supporting. And Ed Peters throws in 5 as well. God bless you, Ed. Thank you very much for the support. No comment. And my brother, Snagglebeast, we just need 1 more. Snagglebeast throws in 5, says, I think that everything was going to be a success for the bad actors. Charlie's end, being wounded, or a big scare were all good outcomes. Potential. I mean, obviously, certain power players did want Charlie dead. And him being one of the only vocal critics to the Iran war, I know, has led speculation that Israel was involved. I will say, I believe Israel would be involved before I believe Erica Kirk was directly involved in the assassination, but we'll see. So 1 more super chat for the goal. We got 10 seconds, guys. 10 seconds to reach our goal today. And there it is. My sister, Kristen, shout out to you, my sister. I hope you and the family are doing good. She says, blessed nativity of John the Forerunner. Absolutely. John the Baptist. God bless everyone out there. God bless all my Orthodox brothers and sisters. Thank you all so much for helping me reach the goal today. Really, really appreciate your guys' support. I love you guys. Thank you so much, Kristen. Hope you and the family are doing good. And thank you all for the support.
That was like it. And it was almost like poetic, the stuff that he was writing about how love could kind of make men move mountains. And so for me to have to mourn him and then have to consider that the thing that he wanted most, like he didn't get, it just gutted me. It gutted me. And so, but I couldn't deny it anymore. I couldn't deny it. And it was beyond intuition. It was beyond her being weird. It was beyond her being at the office. And then I got the Zoom calls. My assumption was that she was grieving like I was. And my assumption, I didn't know she was in the office the next week. As soon as she got back, she just went straight to the office. And
she was in the office the next week.
Yep. As soon as she gave that speech at the podium that you saw, where she addressed the nation, not the I forgive him speech, but like the first one that was like 48 hours after he died. She was in the office that whole week.
A lot of guys.
Female intuition isn't a great piece of evidence. Neither is her talking about Charlie came to her in her dreams.
Saw the funeral.
Is that what we're calling it?
Okay, so we're I think that's the end of the crime scene. It starts getting into she says missing. This one's on missing evidence, but the whole first section is again talking about things that have nothing to do with evidence.
But he really was the man of steel, and this is like a modern day Christian miracle. I mean, total slop for the masses. And everyone then went, what the F? It didn't go through. Like, you're confirming this didn't go through. Something's wrong here, right? When I asked Erica about this, and I didn't know about this thing that happened at the funeral, I asked her, why did Andrew send this tweet? And she said to me, he went rogue. I didn't know he sent the tweet. I said, Andrew went rogue, and she said, called the surgeon. I said, the surgeon spoke to Andrew without your permission? And she said, yeah. I said, so the surgeon to the highest profile assassination since JFK violated HIPAA, went rogue, spoke to some random PR guy he doesn't know, who also went rogue. And then at the conclusion of this conversation, Andrew tweeted something without your permission and went rogue again.
But that's not evidence. Maybe the doctor violated HIPAA, but that's not evidence necessarily of the crime. So here is a little bit of a review after day one of the preliminary hearing. And this was one of the videos that I thought was interesting. As I said, this is the female defense attorney of Tyler Robinson. Kind of underwhelming, as I said. She did a few things yesterday that I saw other legal professionals be like, how does she not know that? And it was kind of strange. They wanted to not let video evidence that the state had regarding the crimes admitted. But in this section, I thought one of the more interesting things is that the Officer Bagley, his body cam stopped working when he apparently went up to see where Tyler Robinson was laying in prone position, which is just another very strange anomaly. It's almost like the security camera when Epstein killed himself stopped working. And Officer Bagley found the sniper's pad on the loose center roof, testified his body cam battery died just 1 hour and 44 minutes into an 11 a.m. shift. Modern body cams are built for 10 to 14 hours of continuous recording. He walked away with roughly 27 minutes of footage from the entire day of Charlie Kirk's assassination and never recharged or swapped it, citing the chaos. Maybe that's true. I don't know. It is certainly strange.
While you were on the roof, did you encounter any spent casings?
As a matter of fact, no. That's why when I saw the prone position where the person would be laying down as a sniper, being around guns and snipers all the time, I was looking for a spent shell casing. I couldn't see one. I was looking over the edge, looking all over the place, making sure the gravel wasn't disturbed, and I couldn't find a shell casing at that moment.
And that would be the reason you would be looking for that was because some types of guns, when they shoot, eject a casing automatically, right? Some do, some don't.
Yes.
All right. And then you also didn't find any unshot bullets.
No.
Okay. Are you aware of there being a bullet found on another roof?
I'm not.
Vicinity? Were you aware of another bullet being found on the scene, not on the roof of the Losi building?
No.
All right, your body cam footage that I reviewed appears to end while you're still on the roof. Do you know why that is?
I think the battery went dead. It was just right at that moment.
Okay. And do you know, did you ever turn it back on that day or go get it, I don't know, what do you have to do, charge it or stick a new battery in it? I don't even know.
Usually dock it, but no, I didn't go back. It was too chaotic running around.
So that 27-minute and 35-second body cam that starts when you're at the Hall of Flags and ends while you're still on the roof, but haven't put the crime tape up yet. That's the only body cam you have that day?
Yes.
Again, strange. Don't know what to make of. I did not hear that the bullets until yesterday there was 2 other bullets found at the scene. So make of that what you will. Dave throws in 5, says, I have a hard time believing anything Candace Owens says about anything. Fair enough. She said some outrageous things. I will say I wouldn't be surprised if Brigitte Macron is a man. But no, fair enough. And it's like in the interview with Sean Ryan, he asked her, like, explain the history of the Freemasons. And it's like some Reddit tier explanation of speculative Freemasonry. She doesn't even use the word speculative Freemasonry. She doesn't even differentiate between operative Freemasonry, because she talks about some of the stone guilds. Again, doesn't even use those terms about building the Gothic cathedrals and stuff in Europe and how that relates to speculative Freemasonry. She jumped straight into like Adam Weishaupt and the Illuminati and the Frankists. And it's like, okay, as someone who is skilled in that area of Western esotericism, is like, gosh, if she's making these grand theories and that's her explanation of like what speculative Freemasonry is, yikes. Okay, so next, okay, that was one of the same thing. Just to give credence, this is a gentleman, Chris Martenson. He's famous for standing against child transgenderism and castration. He claims that his team recreated the broken necklace and puffed out shirt with this shooting a 30-06. Now, I've seen multiple people try to reenact it, and having shot a 30-06, the thing leaves a massive hole whenever you shoot. It always goes through. That he argues that due to fluids being unable to be compressed when 2,000 feet of pounds of force is suddenly dumped into a fluid environment, what you see instead is a violent expansion. So I only bring that to provide the opposite argument, just to be objective here, and you can find multiple videos, YouTube videos of people shooting. Like I saw one of people taking like a pig's leg with a bone and then a concrete block, putting it behind it and then shooting it and showing how the whole thing explodes. And the bullet goes not only through the pig muscle, through two bones, and through the concrete block. So you can find examples. This is the only example that I've seen of someone claiming they reenacted the shooting of Charlie Kirk and that a 30-06 makes sense. So I'll leave that there. And the lead investigator, David Hull, just testified that the big break was when police got a tip from Washington County that an individual contacted police to turn himself in. The name of that individual is Tyler Robinson. And obviously one of the things that Candace has been saying is that Tyler Robinson never turned himself in, which this would insinuate, given that he's under oath, that claim is false, that Tyler Robinson did confess to the crime. So take that for what it is. And this was Myron Gaines, again, unable to stop laughing at the female lawyer. And this is my point, is she seemed to be a bit incompetent.
Objection to hearsay, that's an outstanding objection.
Thank you. Okay. Mr. Natter, do you want to respond to the objection about hearsay?
Yes, Judge.
This is a preliminary hearing, you fucking retard. Hearsay doesn't matter. Hearsay is absolutely admissible in a prelim hearing. Are we serious? This bitch is retarded.
Under Rule 1102, hearsay is admissible to establish the foundation or the any
Yo, this bitch is just doing anything, bruh. What the fuck? Hearsay is absolutely allowed to establish probable cause in a preliminary hearing. Are you fucking serious? What the fuck? Hearsay is not allowed in trials, but it is allowed in preliminary hearings where we're just trying to establish probable cause.
Sub B, sub 3.
Bro, listed out the actual statute.
So take that for what you will. He said that boy Tyler Robinson better get ready for the firing squad. Yeah, I think I don't know if the state appointed his defense attorney or he hired him or what, but yeah. So anyways, we'll find out more. I know today is day 2 of the trial, but I wanted to get into some of the geopolitical news going on that you guys may have not be aware of. And that is the increasing tensions between Ukraine and Russia. So for those of you who didn't know, this was posted today. Russian gas facility goes boom in the night, this time in Belgorod. It was hit by at least one Ukrainian missile, causing widespread disruptions to gas supplies to the city. Now, this is on the heels of the fact that Ukraine has become increasingly successful in drone attacks deep into the heart of Russia as of late. And next, we see that this is the NATO summit. So there's a big NATO summit taking place right now in Turkey. And I may do a stream tomorrow morning talking a little bit about the end time prophecies regarding the assassination of Erdogan, or what's going to happen to Erdogan. And at this NATO summit, they're clearly ramping up European support for an all-out war against Russia. And some of the military experts I've been listening to believe that Russia is also ramping up tensions and is willing to potentially take the fight to Western Europe. Now, we don't know what exactly is going on. Both, Russia has been a little bit quiet and really been slow in the progression of this war because everybody knew it at multiple points. They could have just annihilated. Oh, what's going on? I need to change my camera's lagging. There we go. That Russia could have taken out Ukraine already, and they have not. So Ukraine is getting support by Western allies. And as we'll see, other nations in NATO are explicitly advocating for building up weapons ammunition to attack Russia. Here is, again, another breaking news. This was from yesterday. Russian army strike, enemy logistics center destroyed in the Dnepropetrovsk Oblast in the city of Novomoskovsk. Samara, gosh, any Slavic speaker out there, pardon my inability to pronounce your guys' cities' names, but the strike targeted the Nova Pashta terminal, which was used to supply equipment and vehicles to the Ukrainian militia forces. And this is also on the one of the points of discussion at the NATO summit is Turkey is requesting F-35 fighter jets from the United States. Now, as you'll see, Netanyahu is very upset with this. Netanyahu is pushing back hard against the U.S. arming Turkey. He urged Trump to not sell F-35s or components to Erdogan, warning it would upset the power balance in the Middle East and reward someone who calls openly for the annihilation of Israel. This comes as Turkey ramps up its own stealth fighter program and seeks F-110 engines, while Israel works to maintain its qualitative military edge in the region, a longstanding U.S.-backed priority. Trump will soon head to Anarcha, which he's already there right now. So now that he's there, Turkey is asking for these weapons, and we already know that there has been some type of fallout between Trump and Netanyahu. Obviously, Trump being misled in regards to what was going to transpire regarding the Iran war and other things going on regarding his falling poll numbers. Now, is Trump no longer a Zionist? No, he's still a Zionist. His wife is married to Jared Kushner. Come on. And Donald Trump Jr., if you guys don't know, just married an Israeli, coming from a prominent, wealthy family. I don't know what her name is, but she's Israeli as well. So now he has 2 children married to prominent, wealthy, powerful families in Israel. So is Trump not a Zionist? No. But there is personal animosity between him and Netanyahu. This move would face major hurdles, including the U.S. legal and congressional restrictions tied to Turkey's Russian-made S-400 air defense system. Any deal would likely depend on resolving the S-400 issue, with options reportedly including transferring the system or making it inoperable. And then here is NATO chief calling for a transatlantic defense industrial revolution from Ankara. The hum of machinery must become a roar, he said. He wants governments to keep placing long-term orders and signing contracts because evidently the roar doesn't sustain itself. Here he is.
We need a transatlantic defense industrial revolution. The hum of machinery must become a roar. Now, that sounds dramatic, but it can be done. Governments have their role to play. They must continue placing long-term orders and signing contracts. Today is an excellent example of that kind of contracts we need to put on the table. More of that, please. We need a bonfire of red tape in our procurement and in our cross-border regulation.
Otto says, DPH, did you see the little conference Zelensky had with the rabbi playing some flute, probably a Gazarian battle flute? I did see that. I did see that. And did you see Ukraine's continual persecution of the Orthodox Church? That's not slowing down either. So Trump arrives at NATO summit, still furious with allies who refused to back him against Iran. He mocked Italy's Meloni, called UK Starmer weak. Well, Starmer is weak. I mean, he's probably a closeted homosexual from what I've heard. But definitely weak, definitely a controlled globalist. So fair enough there. And brushed off NATO chief Rutte's flattery. Loyalty, he says, matters more than money. Allies wouldn't open bases for U.S. strikes or help secure the Strait of Hormuz. That refusal has hardened Trump's long-standing NATO skepticism. The Pentagon has already cut U.S. brigade combat teams in Europe and reduced available jets and warships. A 6-month review of American forces is underway. Trump wants Europe spending 5% of GDP on defense and is still eyeing Greenland. His grudge could speed up broader U.S. military pushback. So all this is going on right now in Ankara, Turkey. And here, this was earlier, the first day of July, Iran announced. Now, this is coming from a Zionist X account, Israel Force, Israel Spoof X. Iran announced that even if the war ends, Israeli-owned ships will not be allowed to pass through the Strait of Hormuz. Netanyahu warned that if this happens, Israel will take military action. Well, it has happened. From my understanding, Israeli ships have not passed through the Strait of Hormuz yet. And it'd be a perfect pretext for Netanyahu to get the whole war reignited. Now, this is interesting. According to a global survey, Israel has become the most hated country in the world with a 97.55% negative rating amongst a global survey. Now, this site, this news site, GBC, does not list the citation of who took this poll, but excuse me, is interesting nonetheless. Ooh, sorry about that. Now, this was seen at a recent meeting amongst head Chinese officials, and you can see the map behind Chinese leader Xi Jinping during the meeting was topped with the global agenda. Palestine is there, but Israel is not. There never was and there never will be. Now, that's according to Daily Iran News, so obviously a very biased source, but pretty interesting that the CCP is using a map that does not display Israel, but only Palestine in the region. And here is breaking news. Spain says, "We are not defaming you, Israel. We are defining you. You are a genocidal regime and a criminal regime. You will all stand before the International Criminal Court." Now, do I think that will ever take place? No. Do I think Israel is a criminal, genocidal regime? Absolutely. This was from the other day. The running of the bulls occurred in Spain, and you can see the Spanish running with the bulls here. Oh, one guy got just obliterated there. Did you see that? Absolutely obliterated. One of the guys, he did too. So anyways, but if you scroll down, you'll see that there was a massive banner that was displayed during the running of the bulls that read, "Destroy Israel." This was in Spain. Destroy Israel. The traditional San Fermin festival in Pamplona. And here, the president of South Africa said, "We will pressure the African Union to declare Israel a terrorist state." So you can see continuing animosity towards Israel. And in Ukraine, Zelensky issued a new decree to set school quotas that require some boys aged 14 to 17 to enter drone operator training programs, which many allege is nothing but a masked pathway into military preparation and indoctrination. This is a video of an IDF soldier throws a stun gun in a car carrying a Palestinian family, trapping them inside to absorb the blast. You can see him holding the door shut while they're trying to get out. Reports confirm one of the children inside is now permanently blinded for life. So Israel doing Israeli things. Did you guys see this? Now, I haven't got a whole lot more information, but it's certainly interesting. Ukrainian woman linked to Monaco bombing found shot dead. The body of Anastasia B., involved in attempted murder of Zelensky critic Ermoliev, was discovered near Kiev with gunshot wounds. Authorities arrested 2 suspects. One reportedly serves in Ukraine's intelligence. So, not sure what to make of that. Again, she attempted to kill a critic of Zelensky and was unsuccessful, but then she was shot dead in Ukraine near Kiev by potentially 2 Ukrainian intelligence officers. Now, we were hearing rumors that there is tension between some of the military leaders and some inside the Ukrainian government in Zelensky. It's hard to know what's fact, what's fiction, what's people's opinions, what's true. But this just happened. This was news today. So interesting. And then breaking, conservative leader Marine Le Pen, the French nationalist, although she's more of a socialist than some of the populist people here in the United States, sentenced to a 15-month ban from holding public office, can in principle be a candidate in the presidential election. The case involved using money allocated for EU Parliament assistance to pay French National Rally Party employees. And this was from today. Conservative leader Marine Le Pen arrived at the Paris courthouse ahead of the appeals verdict and the trial involving RN members and the EU, a decision that should shape her political future. Many view this case as a political tool by the establishment to sideline the leading 2027 presidential candidate, mirroring the Georgescu case in Romania. So, do I think there's foul play and attempt to control this election? Absolutely. Israeli ambassador pushing back on some of the Dems' Israel stance, calling out fallacious, libelous accusations of starvation and genocide. Well, they are starving them and they are genociding them. That's all true. He mentioned the Mamdani effect as part of the friction. Yeah, like Mamdani is guilty for the Israeli government's decisions. So this is what I said. Be careful what's going on in the United States, because the Zionists are using the fact that Muslims in our country, which are in many ways antagonistic to everything that we hold dear, as a way to sort of gain sentiment that if you don't want the Muslims taking over America, you must support Israel. So here he is.
I make an effort. I'm on the Hill 2 days a week, 2 full days a week.
Probably make it 3.
It's always, well, it's more than one. I
Fair
always, there are a few other things I got to do as well.
Fair.
But I always make it a bipartisan visit. And I'm well aware that, but we're not the only issue out there. You know, the Mamdani effect is not exactly, is something that the Democratic Party is dealing with, other than Israel, right? Israel is part of a much larger social metamorphosis than what's going on. So that nevertheless is of tremendous concern. And we have had to contend with fallacious, libelous accusations over starvation and genocide.
All of which are true.
When the media pounds that daily, and when podcasters shrug their shoulders and say genocide as if, you know, it's an accomplished fact. It's a proven fact. You know, prove you don't have a sister. Can you prove you don't have a sister? It takes a long time to prove you don't have a sister, if you can at all, you know?
What a weird way to dismiss criticism of their genocide against Palestinians. Can you prove you don't have a sister? Bro, we have videos of what you guys are doing to the Lebanese and the Palestinians. What are you talking about?
Go prove what the numbers in Gaza were. You know, go back and try to readdress all the issues we faced. You know, go and explain to someone that Gaza is an area with 24 miles long and 8 miles wide, with 350 tunnels underneath that area that no army in the world has ever had to contend with. And when I ask some of my colleagues on the Hill who are critical of our actions in Gaza, well, what would you do? Never got a clear answer. Would you like Hamas to remain standing? Oh, no, no, no. Well, what would you like to do exactly? When you have an enemy that is not only hiding, this is often told, they hide behind children and women. That's not the point. They maximize the casualties of women and children. It's not that they're willing to have them die. It's that part of the asymmetric warfare is the maximalization of civilians.
And for those you didn't see, there was a report that came out just within the last couple days that an Israeli military official was recorded talking about how he wanted to just bomb the entire area of Gaza, just kill everyone. And somebody said, well, what about the Israeli soldiers that have been held hostage and abducted by Hamas? He said, well, kill them too. So the idea that Israel is trying to prevent loss of casualties of innocent civilians, whether it be women or children, or even their own IDF soldiers, is just laughable. That was within the last couple of days. And then here is a discussion on how strong Russia is right now. And there's a lot of people that are to the right of Putin. So there is growing criticism of Vladimir Putin because he is not ending the war by just annihilating Kiev, which many people are wanting. In fact, there are voices within the Russian military advocating launching attacks against Europe itself, outside of just Ukraine. And so I just wanted to bring this one up because political analyst Alex Christoforou from the Duran breaks down how Moscow has built an independent, self-sufficient war economy equipped with advanced hypersonic missiles. So NATO wants to ramp up their military production, which is going to take years. Russia already has it.
I think Russia is weaker now than before the special military operation.
Without a doubt.
As in, not strategically, economically, militarily.
Without a doubt, across every single objective metric, the military is stronger, the economy is stronger, they're independent, they're out of the system, they're self-sufficient. They've got a very strong alliance now with China, even though they don't call it officially an alliance. The military is without a doubt stronger. It's bigger, it's stronger. They produce more than all of the collective West combined. Their weapons are more powerful than anything the collective West has, anything. The collective West, including the United States, has nothing comparable to the weapon systems, the missiles, the hypersonics, the Oreshniks, the Poseidons. And Russia is now manufacturing these at scale. I mean, the Oreshniks, they're manufacturing. Some reports say that they're manufacturing anywhere between 25 to 30 plus every month now.
Of the Oreshnik?
Yes. Yes.
That's a lot of Oreshniks.
That's a lot of Oreshniks.
Why do they need that many Oreshniks, Alex?
Well, if your country's been invaded by the Europeans over and over again, and you've got 40 countries that you're fighting a war against, you're going to need something strong.
My Tech makes the argument, and this is what many believe Putin's objective has been. It's been a war of attrition, and NATO hopefully bringing their weapons to Ukraine, and they could all be destroyed in a single war effort. But if you didn't see, Russia has now declared this to be an official war. They've been calling it a special military operation in Ukraine for the longest time, multiple years now. Of course, it's called the Ukraine-Russian War. But now Russia has officially declared it as a war. So legally changing the definition of the conflict. So we'll see. But this is what many people think Putin's long-term goal has been. But he has many military leaders in his cabinet that are, adamantly asking to go on the offensive in this war. Silver Gore says, if Putin targets the mosque in Western Europe, he'd suddenly be a hero. Yeah. I had to figure out what your spelling of mosques there, but yeah, sure.
Is the Poseidon the one that blows up in the sea and causes a tsunami? This shit is for movies. What are they doing building a missile that explodes and causes a tsunami? This is like in the Godzilla movie.
The whole thing.
That's a missile to kill Godzilla.
Yeah, there's a purpose for it, I guess. But the whole thing is I wish we could come to a diplomatic solution to this.
Yeah.
And like I said, we've had many opportunities. But every time the choice for the conflict to continue always wins out.
And I truly believe until Russia destroys Zelensky's power, it's not going to end. And this is a video from the millions of people that attended Khomeini's funeral yesterday. Mourners strung up a Trump effigy from a gallows, pelted a Trump billboard with water bottles, and tore his face off of it. Definitely not the mood you want going into the next round of talks set to resume once the morning ends. And you can see the Iranian people are pissed about the peace agreement between Iran and the U.S. And Iran's FM Arghachi was confronted by a large crowd shouting "honorless" over his U.S. negotiations. And President Pezeshkian faced chants of "death to the compromiser" during the funeral procession. So you can see the sentiment in Iran is pretty intense, and they're not happy with their leaders. So anyways, guys, that is going to do our Logos news stream today. I'm curious what you guys think of doing these more in the morning. I've been contemplating maybe doing the 10 to 10:30 start time for streams moving forward. Curious what you guys are thoughts. I get a lot of comments from a lot of the Europeans that ask me to go live earlier, but I'd be curious, some of my North American fellows, what are your thoughts of maybe changing some of the stream times to earlier in the day? I may experiment with it for the next couple weeks or so and see how it goes. Oh, okay. Ego says, I dig the morning. Yeah, Dr. Crispy says good Euro time. Yeah, that's what the emails I keep getting. And the dude GPT says AM streams would be nice. And oh, shout out to Kristen. She says, I love 10 a.m. I'm thinking about doing that because nobody streams. You know, I think Jim Bob's live, and I'll send you guys over to Jim Bob here in a second. But, you know, really Jim Bob's the first stream of the day. And I was thinking I can prepare the day before and just do morning streams starting at 10 a.m. moving forward. Technographic says, I enjoy the early streams. Maybe do a few morning streams and evening streams to make more of a reach. Yeah, I'll mess around. I'll do both. That's what I was going to experiment with for the next couple weeks and see how they work. Ego says, I'm New York time and I like this time. I'm on Eastern. I'm on New York time. Indiana, ironically, is on New York time, even though Tennessee, just south of us, Nashville, is on Central time. So I'll experiment. I was thinking about maybe doing some more of these. Nectario says, who cares what Europeans want? Soldier says, do a balance. It's better. Okay. I will. All right. Well, I'm going to send you guys over to Jim Bob. Make sure you smash that like. Thank you so much for everyone who supported the stream today. God bless you all. I love you guys. And I may just come back tomorrow and do a morning stream, this time on End Time Prophecies, focusing on Erdogan. And again, these increasing tensions between Israel and Turkey, which is really setting the stage for a potential assassination, which we've all been waiting for as Orthodox Christians. That's what our saints told us and warned us about. So I'm going to redirect you guys over to... Why is my redirection not working? YouTube redirection is not working. Made by Jim Bob. Oh, there it goes. Okay. All right. Yeah, tell Jim Bob that the Codal crew sent you, and I love you guys, and I will see you all tomorrow. Oh, by the way, we have a Codal crew. We have a Logos Academy meeting for anybody who's interested. I'll share that link right now. We'll be meeting tonight at 7:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you would like to join the Academy, we are doing great things in there. A lot of fun. We just had our first reading of the book of Enoch. And if anybody be interested in sponsoring a stream, you can do so with this link right here. And don't forget to get the best Christian deconstruction of transhumanism anywhere published by yours truly with this link right here. All right. I will see you guys tomorrow morning. As always, until then, God bless.